Hello everyone, I'm here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. The red sand stretched endlessly, a barren wasteland under a pale, dust-choked sky. Mars was quieter than any place I'd ever been, quieter than I thought possible. The hum of my suit's life support system was the only sound, a steady rhythm that should have been comforting but felt like a countdown. We were humanity's first step onto another planet, the culmination of decades of planning and ambition. The Astrius mission was supposed to last 6 months, with a team of 6 astronauts establishing a base, conducting experiments, and paving the way for future colonies. But things started going wrong almost immediately. It began with the equipment failures. Minor glitches at first. Oxygen scrubbers running less efficiently. Solar panels losing power despite clear skies. Then, the rover's navigation system malfunctioned, stranding it miles from the habitat. We chalked it up to the harsh environment, the dust storms, the strain on the systems. Mars wasn't Earth after all, but then we lost Davis. He'd gone out to repair one of the solar panels, a routine EVA. The rest of us were in the habitat, monitoring his progress through the helmet cam. It was a clear day, no sign of a storm. "Panel's looking good," Davis had said, his voice crackling slightly over the comms. "Just need to adjust his words cut off mid-sentence. "Davis," Commander Reyes called. No response. The camera feed froze, then flickered. For a moment, we caught a glimpse of something, a shadow moving across the sand, too large to be Davis. Then the feed went dark. We scrambled to reach him, suiting up and rushing out to the panel. But by the time we got there, Davis was gone. His tether dangled limply, severed cleanly as if sliced by a razor. The panel was intact, the tools neatly arranged as if he'd simply walked away. We searched for hours, calling his name, scanning the horizon. But there was no trace of him, just the endless red sand. That night, the whispers started. I was the first to hear them, faint and indistinct, like voices carried on the wind. I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me, the stress of losing Davis, the isolation. But when I mentioned it to the others, their faces went pale. "You've heard them too," Reyes said, her voice barely above a whisper. One by one, we admitted it. The whispers were different for each of us, familiar voices, distant and fragmented, calling us by name. The next day, we found the footprints. They led away from the habitat, winding through the sand in a jagged, erratic path. They weren't Davis's footprints. They were larger, deeper, and the stride was wrong, uneven. They didn't match any of our boots or the rover's tracks. Reyes ordered us to stay inside, to focus on our work and ignore the whispers. But the whispers didn't stop. If anything, they grew louder. And then we lost Collins. Collins disappeared during the night. We woke to find his bunk empty, his suit and helmet gone from the rack. The airlock log showed it had been opened at 3:17, but none of us had heard a thing. Reyes was livid, pacing the habitat as she tried to make sense of it. "He wouldn't just leave," she said, her voice tight with anger. "Not without telling someone. Not in the middle of the night." But the evidence was clear. Collins had walked out into the Martian wilderness alone. We found his tracks about 50 meters from the habitat. They were steady at first, heading toward the ridge to the west. But as we followed them, they became erratic, weaving back and forth like he'd been disoriented or drunk. The strange part was the second set of tracks. They appeared about 100 meters out, parallel to Collins's, but they didn't belong to him, or to any of us. They were longer, with a strange, clawed imprint at the toe. At first, I thought it might have been an artifact of the wind, but the edges were too sharp, too deliberate. The second tracks followed Collins's for a while, then veered off toward the ridge. Collins's tracks stopped abruptly at the base of a rocky outcrop. There was no sign of a struggle, no indication he'd fallen or been dragged. It was as if he'd simply vanished. We returned to the habitat in silence, each of us lost in our thoughts. Reyes ordered a lockdown, restricting all EVAs unless absolutely necessary. But the whispers didn't care about the lockdown. They grew louder that night, pressing against the edges of my mind like a swarm of insects. I could hear my sister's voice, calling my name in the same tone she used when we were kids playing hide and seek. "Come find me," she said, her voice distant and echoing. I sat bolt upright in my bunk, my heart racing. Across the room, I saw Dr. Patel sitting on the floor, her knees drawn to her chest. She was staring at the airlock, her face pale and drawn. "You hear it too," I said, my voice barely audible. She nodded, her eyes glassy. "It knows my name," she whispered. The next morning, we found symbols carved into the outer wall of the habitat. They were crude, jagged lines etched into the metal, forming shapes that hurt to look at. Circles within circles, intersecting triangles, and spirals that seemed to twist into themselves. None of us recognized them, but they felt old, older than the planet itself. Reyes tried to radio Earth, but the comms were down. Not static, not interference, just silence. "This isn't possible," she muttered, running diagnostics for the 5th time. Everything was fine yesterday, but nothing was fine. The solar panels failed completely that afternoon, plunging the habitat into dim emergency lighting. The air recyclers began to struggle, their hum uneven and strained. And then the smell started. It was faint at first, a sickly sweet odor that clung to the back of my throat. By evening, it was everywhere, thick and cloying. Reyes ordered a full inspection, but we couldn't find the source. That night, Patel went missing. Patel was gone by morning. Her bunk was empty, the sheets rumpled as if she'd left in a hurry. The airlock log showed it had been opened again, this time at 2:43. Reyes cursed under her breath as she stared at the screen. She wouldn't, she said, her voice trembling. She wouldn't go out there alone. But she had. Her tracks were easy to follow at first, a straight line leading toward the ridge where Collins's had ended. Reyes, Kowalski, and I suited up and followed them, our radios crackling in the eerie silence. The smell was worse outside, clinging to the inside of my helmet like a phantom. Patel's tracks led us to a shallow depression in the sand, where they stopped. Just like Collins's, there was no sign of a struggle, no indication of where she'd gone. But the second set of tracks was back. The clawed prints were larger this time, deeper, as if whatever made them had been moving faster, or was heavier. They circled the spot where Patel's tracks ended, then disappeared into the rocky terrain. Reyes knelt by the prints, her gloved fingers hovering just above the sand. "This isn't human," she said, her voice low. "It's not an animal either. Nothing here could make this." Kowalski shifted uneasily. "Maybe we missed something in the surveys. Some kind of native life form." "There's no life here," Reyes snapped, cutting him off. "Mars is dead. It's always been dead." But as we turned to head back to the habitat, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. That night, the whispers grew louder. They weren't faint anymore. They were insistent, overlapping voices that filled the habitat like a storm. Reyes tried to drown them out with music, but the sound cut out, leaving only static. Kowalski smashed the speaker in frustration, but the whispers continued, seeping through the walls. I heard my father's voice this time, calling my name in a tone I hadn't heard since I was a child. It was soft, coaxing, but there was something wrong about it, something too hollow, too hungry. Reyes stayed awake, pacing the habitat with a wrench in her hand like it was a weapon. Kowalski sat by the airlock, staring at it like he expected it to open on its own. And then the lights went out. The emergency backup flickered on, casting the room in a dim, reddish glow. It felt like the planet itself was bleeding into the habitat. "Everyone stay together," Reyes said, her voice tight. "Nobody leaves this room, no matter what you hear." But the whispers didn't stop. They grew louder, more distinct, until they weren't whispers anymore. They were screams. I clapped my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The voices were inside my head, clawing at my thoughts, filling every corner of my mind. I could hear Patel begging for help. I could hear Collins screaming my name, and then I heard the airlock open. Reyes was the first to react, lunging toward the control panel. But it was too late. The door was already open, the Martian air rushing in. Kowalski was gone. We scrambled outside, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. His tracks led toward the ridge, just like the others. This time, we didn't follow. "We can't keep doing this," Reyes said, her voice shaking. "If we leave the habitat, we'll all be next." "We're already next," I said. She didn't respond. The next morning, the symbols were inside. They were carved into the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. The same jagged lines, the same spirals that twisted into themselves. They hadn't been there the night before. Reyes stared at them, her face pale. "It's marking us," she said. "It's claiming us. What do we do?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She didn't answer. By the fourth night, I was the only one left. Reyes had gone silent, retreating into her bunk and refusing to come out. I heard her whispering to herself, her voice trembling with fear. When I woke up, she was gone. Her tracks led into the desert, but I didn't follow them. I couldn't. I sat in the dim light of the habitat, staring at the symbols that seemed to pulse and shift when I wasn't looking. The whispers were constant now, filling the air with their terrible, hollow voices. I could feel the weight of the planet pressing down on me, the cold, ancient hunger that had been waiting here long before we arrived. And then I heard it. The airlock hissed open, and the smell of decay flooded the room. I turned, my flashlight trembling in my hand. Something stood in the doorway, its silhouette impossibly tall and thin, its head tilting as it studied me. Its eyes glowed faintly, like embers in the dark. The whispers stopped. For the first time since we landed, Mars was silent. The silence was worse than the whispers. It stretched out, heavy and suffocating, filling every corner of the habitat. The figure didn't move, but its presence was overwhelming, like the air itself was bending around it. My flashlight flickered, its beam dancing across the jagged symbols carved into the walls. The symbols seemed to shift under the light, their edges bleeding into one another until they formed something new, a shape, a pattern I couldn't quite understand but couldn't look away from. The figure took a step forward, its movements unnaturally smooth, as though it was gliding rather than walking. My legs locked in place, every instinct screaming at me to run, but I couldn't. I was rooted to the spot, my breath coming in shallow gasps. Then it spoke. The voice wasn't human. It wasn't even a single voice. It was a cacophony, 1,000 overlapping tones that resonated deep in my chest. The words weren't in any language I knew, but somehow I understood them. "You are not meant to be here." The air grew colder, frost creeping along the edges of my visor. My heart pounded as I tried to form words, but my throat was dry, my voice gone. The figure tilted its head again, as if considering me. Its ember-like eyes burned brighter, and the symbols on the walls pulsed in response, their glow syncing with the rhythm of my racing heart. "You will leave," it said, "or you will become." "Become what?" I managed to whisper, my voice cracking. It didn't answer. Instead, it raised one impossibly long arm and pointed toward the airlock. The meaning was clear. I don't remember how I made it out of the habitat. The next thing I knew, I was standing in the open, the Martian wind cutting through my suit like a knife. The figure was gone, but its presence lingered, a weight pressing down on my chest. The landscape around me had changed. The ridge was gone, replaced by a jagged expanse of rock that stretched endlessly in every direction. The stars above were dim, their light swallowed by a faint, reddish haze that clung to the horizon. I checked my oxygen levels low, too low. I'd have to return to the habitat soon, but the thought of going back made my stomach churn. The symbols were everywhere now, etched into the rocks, glowing faintly like embers buried beneath ash. They formed a trail, leading toward a distant point on the horizon. I didn't want to follow them, but I didn't have a choice. The trail led me to a chasm. It was impossibly wide, its edges disappearing into the haze. The symbols were carved into the walls, spiraling downward into the darkness. A faint hum emanated from the chasm, vibrating through the ground and into my bones. I stared into the abyss, my flashlight barely piercing the shadows. Something moved below, something vast and slow, its shape obscured by the darkness. The hum grew louder, resonating in my skull. The symbols on the walls pulsed in time with the sound, their glow intensifying until the entire chasm was bathed in an eerie, flickering light. And then I saw it. A shape emerged from the darkness, its form shifting and writhing like smoke caught in a storm. It was massive, its edges blurring as if it couldn't fully exist in this reality. Its eyes, if they were eyes, burned like twin suns, their light searing into my mind. The whispers returned, louder than ever, filling my head with fragments of thoughts and images I couldn't comprehend. They weren't words, they were commands. I stumbled backward, my legs trembling. The edge of the chasm crumbled beneath my feet, and I fell, my body tumbling through the air. But the fall didn't end. The darkness swallowed me, the whispers growing louder until they were all I could hear. The symbols burned brighter, their patterns etching themselves into my vision, my thoughts, my very being. I wasn't falling anymore. I was becoming. When I woke, I was back at the habitat. The airlock was sealed, the lights flickering weakly. The symbols were gone, the walls smooth and unmarked. I checked the logs. There was no record of the airlock opening. No record of Patel, Collins, or Reyes ever leaving. I was alone, but the whispers haven't stopped. They're quieter now, buried beneath the hum of the habitat systems, but they're there. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I see the chasm, the shifting shape within it, and the burning eyes that promise something I can't put into words. Mars isn't dead. It's waiting, and I'm not sure I'll ever leave. The days, or what I thought were days, blurred together in the silence of the habitat. The clock still ticked, but their rhythm felt wrong, slower somehow, like the seconds were stretching further apart. I tried to keep a routine. Check oxygen levels, monitor the comms array, perform basic maintenance. It was a futile effort to anchor myself to reality, to pretend I wasn't unraveling. But the whispers were always there. They were soft at first, like the faint hiss of static in an empty room. But the more I ignored them, the louder they became. They spoke in fragments, in voices that weren't mine, but felt like they could be. The air is wrong. They are here. You brought them. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the chasm, the writhing form within it, and the symbols that burned like brands into my mind. The journal, Collins' journal, had reappeared on the desk, though I'd burned it days ago. Its pages were blank now, but when I opened it, my hands moved on their own, sketching the symbols I'd tried so hard to forget. I didn't recognize my handwriting. On the 5th, or maybe the 50th day, the comms array came online. The static that had plagued the system since the expedition began suddenly cleared, replaced by a voice. It wasn't Earth. It wasn't even human. Return. The word echoed through the habitat, vibrating through the walls. I staggered back, my ears ringing. The voice repeated, louder this time, accompanied by a low hum that resonated deep in my chest. Return. I stumbled toward the console, my hands trembling as I tried to shut it off. The screen flickered, displaying a series of coordinates. They were close, less than a kilometer away, deep within the Martian plains. I didn't want to go. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to stay inside, to seal the airlock and never leave. But the whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they drowned out every rational thought. I had to go. The coordinates led me to a ridge I didn't recognize, though it should have been familiar. The terrain was wrong. The rocks arranged in patterns too deliberate to be natural. The symbols were carved into the ground, forming a massive spiral that stretched for meters. In the center of the spiral was a structure. It was ancient, its surface pockmarked and weathered by time, but its design was unmistakably deliberate. The walls were covered in symbols, their glow pulsing faintly in the dim Martian light. The air was heavy here, thick despite the thin atmosphere, and every step felt like I was wading through water. The whispers became deafening as I approached the structure. They spoke in unison now, a single voice made up of countless others. You have returned. The door slid open without a sound. Inside, the air was warm, humid. The walls pulsed with light, the symbols shifting and changing as I moved deeper into the structure. The whispers guided me, pulling me forward even as my body begged me to turn back. The chamber at the center was vast, its ceiling disappearing into darkness. In the center stood a pedestal, and atop it was something I couldn't comprehend, a shape that defied logic, its edges shifting and folding in ways that hurt to look at. I didn't want to touch it, but my hands moved on their own, drawn to the object like a moth to flame. The moment my fingers brushed its surface, the whispers stopped. Silence. And then the visions began. I saw Mars as it once was, a world teeming with life. Cities stretched across the horizon, their spires reaching toward the twin moons. The air was thick with the hum of a civilization far older than humanity. And then I saw the end. The chasm opened, and the thing within it rose, its form blotting out the sun. The symbols were a warning, a barrier meant to contain it, but they had failed. The cities crumbled, the air burned, and the whispers began. The object in my hands pulsed, its light searing into my skin. The vision shifted, showing Earth, our cities, our people, our world. And then I understood. The whispers weren't just in my head. They were spreading. When I woke, I was back in the habitat. The object was gone, but its mark remained. The symbols were etched into my skin, glowing faintly beneath the surface. The whispers had changed, their tone no longer urgent but satisfied, as if their work was done. The comms array crackled to life, broadcasting a signal I didn't recognize. The coordinates it displayed weren't on Mars. They were on Earth. I stared at the screen, my mind racing. The whispers grew louder, their words clear for the first time. You are the vessel. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. The airlock opened, and I stepped outside. The sky was darker now, the haze thicker. The chasm was gone, but I could feel it beneath my feet, its presence like a heartbeat in the ground. Mars wasn't a warning. It was a beginning, and I was bringing it home. The journey back to Earth was a blur, a disjointed series of motions that felt more like a dream than reality. I don't remember packing the habitat or boarding the return shuttle. The systems came online automatically, the launch sequence activating without my input. I watched Mars shrink in the viewport, its rust-red surface glowing faintly beneath the haze of its atmosphere. The whispers were quiet now, but their presence lingered, like the hum of an engine just below the threshold of hearing. They didn't need to speak anymore. I was theirs. The return flight was supposed to take 6 months, but time had lost all meaning. Days bled into nights, the endless void of space pressing against the walls of the shuttle. The symbols etched into my skin began to change, their lines shifting and twisting like living things. I tried to ignore them, to focus on the tasks at hand, monitoring life support, maintaining the ship's trajectory, but the whispers wouldn't let me. They spoke in riddles, fragments of a language I couldn't understand, yet felt deep in my bones. The door is open. It will awaken. Prepare. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the chasm, the writhing form within it, and the cities crumbling beneath its shadow. The visions grew more vivid, more detailed, until I could smell the burning air and hear the screams of a world unraveling. When Earth finally came into view, a spark of hope flickered in my chest. For a moment, I thought I could fight it, that I could warn them before it was too late. But the whispers laughed. You cannot stop it. The shuttle's autopilot engaged, guiding me toward the surface. The landing was smooth, almost too smooth, as if the planet itself was welcoming me home. The moment the hatch opened, the whispers surged, louder than ever. The air tasted wrong, metallic and heavy, and the ground beneath my feet felt alive, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. I wasn't the only one who felt it. The recovery team greeted me with smiles, their relief palpable as they helped me down the ramp. But their expressions changed as they got closer, their eyes darting to the symbols on my skin. One of them, a young woman with a clipboard, reached out to touch my arm, and the moment her fingers brushed my skin, she screamed. It wasn't a scream of pain or fear. It was something else, something primal. Her eyes rolled back, her body convulsing as the symbols spread from me to her, etching themselves into her flesh like fire. The others backed away, their faces pale with horror. I tried to speak, to warn them, but the whispers drowned out my voice. It begins. The quarantine was swift. They locked me in a sterile white room, the walls lined with cameras and sensors. Doctors in hazmat suits ran tests, their faces obscured behind tinted visors. But it didn't matter. The symbols were spreading, appearing on their skin, on the walls, even on the glass of the observation window. They tried to scrub them away, to burn them off, but the marks always returned, darker and more defined. The whispers had escaped. Days passed, or maybe weeks. The facility grew quieter as the staff began to disappear. Some fled, their minds unraveling under the weight of the whispers. Others succumbed, their bodies twisting into unnatural shapes as the symbols consumed them. I was left alone, the whispers my only company. The visions came more frequently now, showing me what was to come. Cities falling, oceans boiling, the skies splitting open to reveal the chasm and the thing within it. The symbols weren't just marks. They were a map, a guide to something ancient and unspeakable. And I was its herald. The day the doors opened, I knew it was over. The facility was empty, the halls silent except for the faint hum of the whispers. I stepped outside, the sunlight blinding after weeks in the sterile glow of the quarantine lights. The world was different. The sky was darker, the air heavier. The symbols were everywhere now, carved into buildings, painted on roads, etched into the very fabric of reality. People wandered the streets, their eyes vacant, their bodies marked with the same glowing lines. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were a chorus, a symphony of voices that filled the air, speaking in unison. It is here. I turned my gaze to the horizon, where a shadow loomed, impossibly large and shifting, its form defying comprehension. The ground trembled beneath my feet as the thing from the chasm began to rise, its ember eyes burning like twin suns. I fell to my knees, the weight of its presence crushing me. The whispers spoke one last time, their words echoing in my mind as the world began to unravel. Welcome home. The shadow grew, consuming the horizon as the thing emerged from the veil of reality. Its form shifted constantly, limbs that weren't limbs, eyes that weren't eyes, mouths that spoke without sound. The symbols on my skin burned, their light pulsating in rhythm with the tremors in the ground. I was paralyzed, unable to look away. The world around me warped, the sky rippling as if it were water. People stumbled through the streets, their bodies contorting as the symbols overtook them. Some collapsed, their forms dissolving into ash. Others rose, their movements jerky and unnatural, their glowing eyes fixed on the approaching shadow. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were a deafening roar, a cacophony of voices that filled the air with words I couldn't understand but felt in my bones. The door is open. The vessel is ready. It will consume. I tried to move, to run, but my body wouldn't obey. The symbols had rooted me to the spot, binding me to the thing that had claimed me. And then it spoke, not with words, but with a presence that filled every corner of my mind. It was vast, ancient, and utterly indifferent to my existence. It will press down on me like a tidal wave, drowning out every thought, every shred of humanity I had left. You brought me forth. I wanted to scream, to deny it, but deep down I knew it was true. I had been the key, the catalyst. The expedition to Mars had been a mistake, a crack in the barrier that held this thing at bay. And I had been the one to widen it. You will bear witness. The shadow reached out, its form stretching across the sky like a living storm. The air vibrated with its power, the ground splitting open as tendrils of darkness snaked through the earth. I felt myself being lifted, pulled toward the thing that loomed above me. The symbols on my skin flared, their light merging with the tendrils that coiled around me. For a moment, I thought it would consume me, that I would be obliterated in its presence. But instead it stopped. It studied me, its ember eyes burning with an intelligence that was both alien and terrifying. I felt it probing my mind, sifting through my memories, my fears, my regrets. And then it smiled, not with a mouth, but with the sensation of teeth scraping against my soul. You are not the end. You are the beginning. When I woke, the world was silent. The sky was empty, the shadow gone. The ground was still, the air heavy with the scent of ash. I was lying in the center of a massive crater, the edges glowing faintly with the symbols that had marked me. The city was gone. No, not gone, transformed. The buildings were twisted, their shapes impossible, their surfaces covered in the same glowing lines. The people were nowhere to be seen, their absence a hollow ache that echoed in the ruins. I was alone, or so I thought. As I stumbled to my feet, I saw them, figures moving in the distance, their forms shrouded in shadow. They moved with a purpose, their glowing eyes fixed on me. The whispers began again, faint but insistent. It begins anew. I turned to run, but the ground shifted beneath me, pulling me back toward the center of the crater. The figures drew closer, their features becoming clearer. They were human, or at least they had been. Their bodies were marked with the same symbols, their eyes glowing with the same light. But their faces were wrong, stretched, distorted, their expressions frozen in an unnatural rictus. They surrounded me, their movements synchronized, their voices merging into a single, chilling phrase. "The vessel is ready." I screamed, but no sound came out. The last thing I saw was their hands reaching for me, their touch burning like fire as the symbols flared one final time. And then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was back on Mars. The red sand stretched out before me, the chasm yawning in the distance. The whispers were silent, the air heavy with anticipation. I looked down at my hands, at the symbols etched into my skin. They were no longer glowing, but they pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. The thing wasn't gone. It was waiting for the next door to open. I tried to scream, but the sound was swallowed by the weight of the air. The ground beneath me trembled, a low hum that resonated in my chest, like a warning. The symbols on my skin were no longer faint. They were alive, writhing, and the more I looked at them, the more they seemed to twist and change, as if they were mapping something out, something vast and unknowable. The chasm loomed before me, its edges sharp and jagged, as if the earth itself had been torn open to reveal the darkness beneath. I could feel its pull like a magnet drawing me closer, but I couldn't move. My body was locked in place, tethered to the ground by the weight of the symbols that now covered my entire form. And then, from the depths of the chasm, a sound. A low, guttural growl that vibrated through the air, sending a tremor of fear down my spine. It was ancient, primal, and it carried with it a promise of something terrible. I tried to turn away, to escape, but I couldn't. The pull was too strong. The ground beneath me cracked open, and I was falling into the darkness, into the heart of the chasm. When I landed, it wasn't the soft embrace of the earth I felt. No, it was cold and hard like stone. I scrambled to my feet, my breath coming in ragged gasps, and looked around. The landscape had changed. I was no longer on Mars, or at least, not the Mars I remembered. The sky was black, swirling with storm clouds that crackled with a sickly, greenish light. The air was thick, suffocating, and the ground was covered in a thick layer of ash, as though the planet had been scorched by fire. I took a step forward, my feet sinking into the ash, and the whispers returned. They weren't in my head this time. They were all around me, like the wind itself carried them. I couldn't make out the words, but I felt them. They were a language older than time itself, a language that spoke to the core of my being, a language I had been taught to fear. And then I saw it, a figure standing in the distance, its shape cloaked in shadow. Its presence was immense, towering over the landscape like a god, its form shifting and flickering like an illusion. The figure moved, its movements slow but deliberate, as if it were aware of my every thought. I felt its gaze before I saw its eyes, twin embers burning through the darkness, searching, probing. "You are here." The voice wasn't a sound. It was a feeling, an overwhelming pressure that pushed against my chest. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry, my voice lost in the weight of its presence. The figure took another step, and the ground beneath it cracked, the earth splitting open like a wound. From the cracks, something began to emerge, long, twisted tendrils, writhing and reaching, like the limbs of something ancient and hungry. You brought me here. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. I was frozen, bound by the symbols that had branded my skin. The whispers grew louder, a chorus of voices that filled the air, drowning out everything else. They were no longer just words, they were commands, demands. You will serve. The figure stepped closer, its massive form swallowing the light. Its ember eyes locked onto mine, and I felt the weight of its gaze like 1,000 years of suffering pressing down on me. You are the vessel. I awoke with a start, gasping for air, my body drenched in sweat. The room was dark, the familiar hum of the station system surrounding me. For a moment, I thought it had all been a dream. The symbols on my skin were gone, the whispers silent. But then I saw it, a symbol, faint and glowing, carved into the wall of my room. It wasn't a dream. I was still trapped. The whispers began again, softer this time, like a lullaby. They spoke of things I couldn't understand, but I felt their pull, their inevitability. The symbols on my skin were back, their lines twisting and shifting like living things, guiding me, drawing me towards something. The station was empty now. The crew had long since vanished, consumed by the same darkness that had claimed me. I was the last one left, the last one to bear witness. I tried to leave, to break free, but the doors wouldn't open. The walls closed in, the air growing thicker with each passing moment. The whispers were louder now, a chorus that filled the entire station, filling my mind with their promises. It waits. It calls. You will return. I knew what I had to do. The journal, the symbols, the visions, they were all part of the same ritual, the same cycle that had begun long ago. I wasn't the first, and I wouldn't be the last. The door opened, and I stepped into the dark. The air was thick with the scent of something ancient, something that didn't belong. As I stepped into the darkness, the walls of the station seemed to shift, the metal groaning and bending in ways it shouldn't. The corridors stretched on endlessly, their twists and turns leading nowhere, the lights flickering as if they too were unsure of their purpose. I felt the pull again, the whispering insistent, like a tide that could no longer be ignored. The symbols on my skin were burning, glowing brighter with each step I took. They were guiding me, drawing me toward the heart of the station, toward something I could not comprehend. The whispers became clearer, their words now forming into fragmented sentences that chilled me to the bone. It waits in the dark. The door is open. You are the key. I didn't want to follow. I wanted to run, to tear the symbols from my skin and scream until the world made sense again. But I couldn't. My legs moved of their own accord. Each step a pull deeper into the nightmare I had unwittingly unleashed. The corridor opened into a massive chamber, its walls covered in the same symbols, etched deep into the metal like scars. In the center of the room, a large dark shape loomed, something that shouldn't have been there, something that couldn't exist. It was a doorway, but not a doorway in the way I understood. It was a tear in reality itself, a crack that pulsed with the same rhythm as the symbols on my skin. The air around it shimmered, distorting everything in its vicinity, like looking through the wrong end of a telescope. And then I saw it, the figure. It was towering, its form impossible to define, shifting and flickering like a mirage. Its eyes were not eyes, but two blinding, ember-like orbs that burned with an intelligence that transcended time and space. It was the same presence I had felt before, the same force that had followed me across Mars, across space, and now it had come for me. You are the vessel. The voice echoed, not through my ears, but directly into my mind, reverberating in the deepest corners of my consciousness. It was a soundless scream, a sound that made my bones vibrate. I tried to speak, to ask what it wanted, but the words died in my throat. The symbols on my skin flared, and I felt my body lurch forward, as if the very force of the thing was pulling me toward it. I was no longer in control. The chamber shifted, the walls bending and warping around me, the air thickening with an unbearable pressure. I could feel the thing moving closer, its presence suffocating, filling every part of me. It was here in this moment that I realized the truth. The creature wasn't just waiting for me. It had always been waiting. I was the key, the catalyst. I had opened the door. I had invited it in, and now it would take me. The world around me fractured, reality itself splitting open like the surface of a shattered mirror. The symbols on my skin were no longer just markings. They were alive, seeping into the very fabric of my being, binding me to the thing that stood before me. My body felt weightless, as though I were no longer tethered to the world I had known. I felt the creature's gaze upon me, its burning eyes boring into my soul. The air around us thickened, swirling with an energy that made my skin crawl. The whispering voices grew louder, merging into a single, deafening roar. They spoke in unison now, chanting a word I couldn't understand, a word that felt like a command, a promise. Come. The figure's voice, a deep, rumbling echo, filled my mind. I couldn't resist. My body moved without my will, my feet carrying me toward the tear in reality, the doorway that had opened, waiting to swallow me whole. The creature's eyes locked onto mine, and I felt my soul being pulled toward it, drawn into its infinite hunger. The symbols on my skin burned with a searing intensity, their light growing blinding as the pull grew stronger. I was no longer a person. I was part of it, part of the ritual, part of the cycle that had begun long before my birth and would continue long after my death. And then, just as I reached the threshold of the doorway, I understood. The creature wasn't just waiting for me. It was waiting for all of us. The cycle had begun, and it would never end. We were all vessels, all keys, drawn to it by the symbols, by the whispers, by the thing that had been waiting in the dark corners of space and time. I was just the first. The doorway opened, and I stepped through. I don't know how much time has passed. The whispers still echo in my mind. The symbols still burn on my skin. But I can't remember who I was before. I can't remember what it was like to be human. All I know now is the endless waiting, the endless cycle. And I know that the thing is still out there, still watching, still waiting. And one day it will come again. Time, or what little of it I can still measure, has become an abstract concept here. The space around me is both infinite and suffocating, a place that exists outside of any reality I once knew. It's as if I am suspended in a void, surrounded by the same relentless hum of the whispers, the same ever-present sensation of eyes, countless, burning eyes, watching me. I can't escape them. I've tried. I've tried walking, running, hiding, but there's nowhere to go. The walls, if they can even be called that, stretch on endlessly in every direction, bending and warping like the pages of a book that refuses to stay open. The symbols on my skin have spread, expanding across my body until they are no longer just marks. They are part of me, woven into my flesh, my bones. They pulse in time with the whispers, with the heartbeat of the thing that waits. It's always there, always watching, always waiting. I remember fragments, moments of clarity that break through the fog of this place. I remember the crew, my fellow explorers, their faces twisted in fear, their eyes wide with the same realization that I had come to understand far too late. We were never meant to be here. Mars was never just a destination. It was the door, the key, the beginning of something much older than humanity, older than the stars themselves. I think back to the symbols we found on the surface, etched into the red soil, as though they had been waiting for us to uncover them. We thought we were explorers, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. But we were just pawns in a game far beyond our comprehension. I think of the first transmission we received, the distorted voice, the static-filled words that spoke of the awakening, of the coming. It wasn't a warning. It was a call, a summons, and I answered it. The thing has spoken to me again. Its voice is no longer a distant whisper, but a presence, a crushing weight in my mind. It's closer now, and its words have become clearer, more urgent. It doesn't speak to me directly, not in the way I once understood language. It's more like a feeling, a pressure that builds inside my chest, like I'm being filled with something that isn't mine. It tells me things I don't want to know, things I can't forget. The cycle is endless. The door is always open. You are the first, but not the last. The words twist inside my mind, like a thorn being driven deeper with each repetition. I can feel it now, the presence of the others, the ones who have come before me, the ones who will come after. They are here too, trapped in the same endless void. They are the echoes of the past, the future, and the present. All of them bound by the same symbols, the same curse. I'm not alone, but I am alone. I tried to remember who I was before. I tried to hold on to the fragments of my past, the faces of my crew, the sound of my own voice. But it slips away from me like sand through my fingers. The more I try to grasp it, the further it fades. The thing, the presence, it feeds on this. It feeds on the loss, on the forgetting. It grows stronger with each passing moment. Its hunger insatiable. I can hear it now, its voice filling the space around me, vibrating through my bones. It is time. I don't know what it means. I don't know what will happen next. But I feel the pull again, stronger than ever before. The symbols on my skin burn with a blinding intensity, and I know that whatever is coming, I will be part of it. There's no escape. Not now. Not ever. I hear footsteps now. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me, the echoes of my own thoughts manifesting into something tangible. But no, these are real. I can hear them clearly, the slow, deliberate steps of someone or something approaching. I turn, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, I see them. The others. They are. Us. But not. Their faces are familiar, but twisted, distorted by the same symbols that now mar my own skin. They move in unison, their eyes glowing with the same ember-like light that burns in the creature's gaze. Their mouths move, but no sound comes out. They are the echoes, the remnants of those who came before, trapped in this endless cycle. And they are waiting for me. The whispers grow louder, and I realize with a sinking feeling that they are no longer just speaking to me. They are speaking to us, to all of us. We are the ones who have been called, the ones who have been marked. And now, the cycle begins again. I can't move. My body is frozen, my mind consumed by the pull of the thing that watches. The others stand in a circle around me, their faces blank, their eyes vacant. They are waiting for something, waiting for the signal, the moment when the cycle will start once more. I try to scream, to break free, but the words die in my throat. I can't escape. I can't remember. But the others, they remember. They know what is coming. They know what they are. And soon I will know too. I feel the pressure in my chest again, that heavy weight, as if the air itself is being drawn from my lungs. The whispers have merged into one unified voice now, a low, guttural hum that vibrates through my very core. It's no longer just in my mind. It's everywhere. The walls, the floor, the space between the others, it's all alive with it. They move in sync, their bodies swaying like reeds in the wind, as if they are waiting for the signal to begin. I'm no longer sure if they are human, if they ever were. Their faces are familiar but wrong, their eyes glowing faintly, just like the ember eyes of the thing that watches. I can feel them, somehow, in ways I can't explain. They are not just shadows of the past. They are part of it, part of the cycle, part of whatever ancient force governs this place. And now it's my turn. I don't know how I know this, but I do. The symbols on my skin burn with an intensity that makes my body tremble. They pulse in time with the hum of the voice, each beat a reminder of my fate. My hands are shaking, my breath coming in short, panic gasps. But there's nowhere to run. The others are too close, their eyes too full of that strange, hungry light. They're waiting for me to join them, to become one with them, to begin the cycle anew. I try to move, but my body won't obey. My legs are heavy, my arms like lead. It's as if something is holding me in place, as if I am being tethered to this spot by invisible threads, threads woven from the very fabric of the forest, the symbols, the whispers. The air is thick, choking, and the ground beneath my feet feels wrong, like it's shifting, breathing. And then I see it. A figure steps forward from the circle, its form emerging from the shadows. It is tall, impossibly tall, its shape elongated and twisted, as if it was never meant to stand upright. Its eyes, those ember eyes, burn through the darkness, locking onto mine. The figure's mouth opens, but no sound comes. Instead, I feel it in my bones, in the marrow of my being. The words, the message, the command. You are the last. The last. I don't understand. I can't understand. My mind is unraveling, the threads of reality slipping through my fingers. The figure steps closer, its presence overwhelming, filling every inch of the space. I can feel its gaze on me, penetrating, suffocating. It knows me. It knows everything about me. And then I realize I know it too. This thing, this creature, it isn't just watching. It's inside me, inside my thoughts, inside my memories. It's been there from the beginning, buried deep within the symbols, the whispers, the very fabric of this place. It is the forest. It is Mars. It is everything. And now it has me. I scream, but no sound escapes my lips. My body is frozen. My mind a cacophony of fear and confusion. The figure raises its hand, long, spindly fingers reaching for me, and I feel the pull, the force drawing me toward it. My skin burns where the symbols lie, and I can't breathe, can't think, and then it happens. A flash of light, a jolt like an electric shock running through my entire being. The symbols on my skin flare with blinding intensity, and I feel myself being torn apart, scattered across time and space. My body, my mind, my soul, they are all ripped from me, flung into the void. I see faces, I see places, I see everything, and yet nothing. It's all a blur, a swirl of images and sounds and sensations that make no sense. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stops. Silence. I don't know how long it lasts. It could be seconds. It could be centuries. Time is meaningless here. I open my eyes, or at least I think I do, and find myself standing in a place that is both familiar and alien. The air is thick, heavy with the same oppressive weight that has haunted me since the moment I first stepped into this cursed place. But something is different now. The whispers are gone, the figures are gone, but I am not alone. I turn, and I see them, the others. But they are not the same. Their faces are still twisted, still wrong, but now they are. Waiting. They stand in a circle, just as before, but they are silent, their eyes empty, their bodies still. There is no hum, no voice, no presence. Only the stillness. I'm not sure what happens next. I don't know if I can move, if I can speak. I don't know if I even want to. The air is thick with the promise of something. Something terrible, something ancient. The symbols on my skin pulse faintly. A reminder of the price I've paid. The price I will continue to pay. The cycle has begun again, and I am the last to join. The cycle is endless. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. The air grows heavier with each passing moment, suffocating, pressing in from all sides. The silence is no longer comforting. It is oppressive like a weight on my chest, forcing me to stand there, rooted to the spot. I want to move, to scream, to break free, but my body betrays me. I am trapped in the stillness, caught between the world of the living and whatever realm the forest has become. The figures around me remain motionless, their eyes hollow and empty, yet I feel them watching me, waiting. The ground beneath my feet shifts ever so slightly, as if the earth itself is alive, breathing in rhythm with the faint pulsing of the symbols on my skin. My breath catches in my throat, the weight of it all pressing in on me, suffocating me. And then a sound, a single, soft rustle. A whisper. It is faint at first, barely audible, but it grows louder, closer, until it is impossible to ignore. The voice is not just in my mind anymore. It is everywhere. It fills the space, vibrating through the walls, through the ground, through the very air I breathe. It is a low, guttural hum, like the growl of something hungry, something ancient. You are the last. The words echo in my head, reverberating through my skull. The voice is not kind, not comforting. It is a command, an inevitability. My heart races, my pulse pounding in my ears, but my body remains still, frozen in place. The figures begin to move, slowly, deliberately, their eyes fixed on me, their bodies swaying in unison like puppets on invisible strings. The symbols on my skin flare again, brighter this time, searing into my flesh. Pain lances through me, but I cannot scream. I cannot move. The pain is not just physical. It is deep, a gnawing, insistent ache that sinks into my bones, into my soul. It is the cost of the ritual, the price I must pay to become one with them, to join the cycle. The ground beneath me trembles, and I feel a pull, a force drawing me toward the center of the circle. My feet move against my will, dragging me forward, each step a battle against my own body. The figures part as I approach, their hollow eyes following my every movement. I am at the center now, the symbols glowing brightly around me, casting strange shadows on the walls, on the floor, on the air itself. The figure with ember eyes steps forward. It is taller than the others, its form twisted, elongated, unnatural. Its face is a mask of shadows, its eyes glowing with an intensity that makes my skin crawl. It does not speak, but I hear its voice in my mind, as clear as if it were spoken aloud. You are the last. The words repeat, a mantra, a final command. The figure raises its hand, and I feel the pull again, stronger now, tugging at my very soul. The symbols on my skin burn with a ferocity that makes my vision blur. I try to scream, to fight, but my body is no longer mine. I'm no longer me. I'm just a vessel for the cycle, for the forest, for the thing that watches from the shadows. And then, the figure steps closer, its ember eyes locked onto mine. I can feel its presence, like a dark cloud pressing in on me, suffocating me. It reaches out, its fingers long and spindly, cold as death. I feel its touch on my skin, and it burns, searing through me, pulling something from deep within. I feel the last remnants of my humanity slip away, like sand through my fingers. The pain is unbearable now, but it is nothing compared to the emptiness that follows. The symbols on my skin fade, leaving behind only the raw, empty void where my soul used to be. The forest has claimed me. The cycle has begun again, and I am the last to join. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. The darkness stretches, endless and all-encompassing, as I drift in a place that is neither here nor there. Time no longer holds meaning. It is as if I have become part of the very fabric of this space, woven into its twisted tapestry of forgotten things, lost memories, and ancient rituals. I am both present and absent, a shadow in a world where shadows are the only things that exist. The silence is deafening, yet there is a hum beneath it, a pulse that vibrates through the void. It is the heartbeat of the forest, of the entity that watches, that waits. I feel its gaze, cold and infinite, pressing against me, like an invisible hand gripping my chest. It is not a presence I can escape. It is everything, everywhere, and now it is part of me. I'm no longer sure if I am alive. I no longer feel the weight of my body, the pull of gravity. I no longer feel the need to breathe. But the hum, the pulse, it continues. It is constant, steady, and it carries with it the promise of something that has no end. I am caught in the cycle, unable to break free. But then something changes. A flicker, a movement in the corner of my perception. At first, I think it is just a trick of the mind, a fleeting image. But it comes again, this time more distinct, more real. I see a figure, standing in the distance, its outline barely visible in the gloom. It is tall, impossibly tall like the figure with ember eyes. But this one is different. It moves in jerky, unnatural motions, as if it is not meant to be seen. It takes a step toward me, and I feel the pull again. But this time, it is not the same. This pull is not the same as the one that brought me to the center of the circle. It is not the same as the force that has kept me here, in this place of endless waiting. This pull is different. It is familiar. I reach out, or at least I try to. My body feels foreign to me, unresponsive, but somehow I manage to move, to shift, to draw closer to the figure. It is waiting for me. I can feel it. It is waiting for me to come closer, to make the choice. The figure's face is obscured by shadows, but I know it. I know this presence. It is the same as the one I have felt all along. The one that watches from the edges of my mind, from the corners of the forest, from the depths of the cabin. It is the same, but it is not. It is a different part of the cycle, a different piece of the puzzle. It is a part of me. I take another step, and the figure does not move. It simply stands there, waiting, its form flickering like a flame in the wind. The hum grows louder, the pulse faster, more urgent. It is calling me, pulling me forward, urging me to join it, to become one with it. And then it speaks. You have always known. The voice is not like the others. It is not the same guttural hum, the same mind-shattering resonance. It is soft, almost gentle, like a whisper carried on the wind. But it is powerful too. It is a voice I know, a voice I recognize, even if I cannot place it. It is the voice of the forest, the voice of the thing that watches, the voice of the cycle. You have always known what you must do. The words are like a spark, igniting something deep within me. A memory, a fragment of thought, long buried, begins to surface. I see flashes, images of the cabin, the symbols, the creatures in the woods. I see myself standing there at the center of the circle, the ember eyes staring down at me. I see the ritual, the ancient force, the hunger that has been waiting for me all along. I understand now. I understand what it means to be the last. I understand the price, the cost, the sacrifice. The figure steps closer, its face still hidden in shadow, but I feel its presence more strongly now. I feel it inside me like a pulse, like a heartbeat. It is not separate from me. It never was. It is part of me, and I am part of it. It is time, the figure whispers, its voice like a sigh. It is time to complete the cycle. The world around me begins to shift, to distort. The ground trembles beneath my feet, and the symbols on my skin flare with blinding intensity. I feel the force, the pull, the weight of it all. It is too much to bear, and yet it is everything. I cannot escape. I do not want to escape. The figure reaches out, its hand cold and unfeeling, and I take it. And in that moment, I am no longer me. I am no longer human. I am part of the cycle, part of the forest, part of the thing that waits. I am the last, and the cycle will continue. It will never end. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. I don't know how long I stand there, or if I stand at all. Time has no meaning anymore. The world around me flickers in and out of focus, shifting between moments, between places, between realities. The figure's hand is still in mine, its touch cold and unyielding, like stone or the void itself. It pulls me forward, and I follow, no longer questioning, no longer resisting. There is no need for questions anymore. The answers are already inside me, buried deep, waiting to be unearthed. We move through the darkness, through a place that is not quite here, not quite anywhere. I feel the pull of the symbols, the pulse of the forest, guiding me, leading me deeper into the heart of it. I can feel it now, the hunger, the ancient force that has always been, always will be. It is a presence that transcends time, that lives in the cracks between worlds. And I am part of it now. The figures are all around me again, their hollow eyes watching, waiting. They move in unison, their bodies swaying with a rhythm that I cannot comprehend. Their presence is suffocating, overwhelming, but it is also familiar. They are the forest. They are the cycle. And now, I am one of them. The air grows thicker, the weight of it pressing down on me, squeezing the breath from my lungs. The symbols on my skin burn brighter, hotter, until I feel as if I am being consumed by them. The ground beneath my feet shifts again, and I realize that I am standing in the center of the circle once more. The figures part, their eyes fixed on me, their mouths open and silent. Eternal hunger. The figure with ember eyes steps forward, its face still hidden in shadow. I feel its gaze on me, feel the weight of its presence like 1,000 eyes staring into my soul. It speaks, but its voice is not a whisper anymore. It is a roar, a thunderous, earth-shattering sound that reverberates through my bones, through my very being. You are the last. The words echo in my mind, and I understand. I understand the cost, the sacrifice, the inevitability of it all. The cycle cannot be broken. It will never end. The forest will always watch, always wait, and those who are chosen will always return, again and again, to become part of it. I take a step forward, my body moving on its own, and the ground trembles beneath me. The symbols glow brighter, and the figures close in, their hands reaching out, their mouths opening wider. They are hungry, but not for flesh. They are hungry for me, for my soul, for my essence, and I am ready to give it to them. The figure with ember eyes reaches out, its hand brushing against my cheek, and I feel the last remnants of my humanity slip away. There is no pain, no fear. There is only a deep, endless peace, like the stillness of the forest itself. The hunger is all-consuming, and I welcome it. I am part of the cycle now, and I will always be. The last thing I hear is the sound of the door opening, and then everything fades to black. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. I wake, but not in the way I once knew waking. There is no sharpness, no clarity. It is more like surfacing from deep water, the world around me thick and muffled, as if I am submerged in something that clings to my skin, that weighs on my mind. The air tastes wrong, heavy, metallic, thick with something I can't name. I don't know where I am, but I know it doesn't matter. The symbols are still with me, burned into my skin, into my bones. They pulse with an eerie rhythm, like a heartbeat that isn't mine. I try to move, but my body feels distant, unresponsive, as though it's no longer entirely my own. My hands are cold, my legs stiff, and the ground beneath me feels strange, as if it's made of something soft but solid. I try to push myself up, but my vision sways, and a dark shape looms before me. I recognize it, even before the ember eyes glow in the shadows. It's the figure, but it is different now. Its form is more solid, more defined, as if it has materialized from the very darkness itself. It towers above me, its silhouette impossibly tall, stretching and twisting in ways that defy the laws of nature. The shadows around it seem to move, to dance, as if they are alive, as if they are part of the figure itself. Its eyes, those ember eyes, burn into mine, and I feel the weight of its gaze like an anchor, pulling me down into something deeper. It speaks again, but this time its voice is not a whisper, not a roar. It is a song, a low, mournful hum that reverberates through the air, through my very soul. You are the last. The words echo, not just in my ears, but in my mind, in my heart. I understand them now, in a way that I never did before. The cycle is unbroken. The door is always open, and I am always the one who steps through. I am the last, the one who has been chosen, the one who will always return. The forest watches, waits, and the hunger never ends. The figure reaches out, its hand cold and impossibly long, and I don't resist. I can't. It takes me by the wrist, and I feel its grip tighten, pulling me toward it. I am weightless, drifting, as if I am floating through space, through time, through the very fabric of reality. The world around me shifts again, and I see flashes, images of the forest, of the cabin, of the symbols of the figures. I see myself, again and again, standing in the circle, feeling the pull, feeling the hunger. I see the door, always open, always waiting. I feel the pressure in my chest, a tightening, a suffocating force that builds with every passing second. The symbols burn hotter now, and the figures gather around me, their eyes glowing with the same hunger, the same need. They are the forest, they are the cycle, and I am part of it. I don't know if I scream. I don't know if I even can, but I know what I am meant to do. I know that I must take my place, that I must step into the center of the circle and complete the ritual. The figure with ember eyes stands before me, its gaze never leaving mine, and I know it is waiting for me to fulfill my role. And then the ground beneath me gives way. I fall, but not into darkness. No, I fall into something else, something cold and ancient, something older than the forest itself. I fall into the center of the cycle, into the heart of the hunger. The figures close in around me, their hands reaching out, their mouths open wide, their eyes glowing with an insatiable need. They're all around me, and I am one of them now. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. I step through, but it's not a door I cross, not a threshold I cross in the way I once understood. It's more like being pulled, being consumed, being remade. The air is thick with 1,000 voices, each one whispering my name, each one a fragment of something larger, something ancient. The figures, the ones with the ember eyes, are no longer distant, no longer shadows. They are all around me, their forms twisting and flickering, like smoke in a breeze that doesn't exist. I am not me anymore. I am part of the forest now, part of the hunger that has always been, always will be. My skin is no longer my own. It is the bark of trees, the cold stone of the earth. My breath is the wind, the groan of the forest. My heartbeat is the pulse of something far older than humanity, far older than time itself. I feel it all at once, and yet I feel nothing at all. There is no pain, no fear, no longing. There is only the hunger, the insatiable, gnawing hunger that calls to me, that pulls me deeper into the cycle. The symbols on my skin burn brighter now, the lines growing longer, twisting into shapes I cannot comprehend. They pulse with the rhythm of the forest, with the rhythm of the hunger. I am one with them, and they are one with me. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. But this time, it's not just me who steps through. The others are here now. The others, the ones who were lost before me, the ones who came before. They're like me now, part of the cycle, part of the hunger. I see their faces in the flickering shadows, their eyes glowing with the same ember light, their mouths stretching open in silent, eternal screams. They are the forest, they are the hunger, and I am one of them. I see the figure again, the one with the ember eyes. It stands before me, its face hidden in shadow, but I feel its presence in every fiber of my being. It doesn't speak, but I hear its voice in my mind and my heart. You are the last, but I don't feel like the last anymore. I feel like the first, the beginning, the one who will continue the cycle, who will keep the hunger alive, who will always return. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. I take a step forward, my feet moving on their own, guided by the rhythm of the hunger. The others follow me, their forms flickering in and out of existence, their eyes locked on me. We are the forest now. We are the cycle. We are the hunger. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. I step through, but the door is no longer a door. It's a moment, a space that stretches and bends, a place between places where the rules of time and space no longer apply. I don't move, yet I feel myself being pulled forward, drawn into the void. The air is thick with the weight of something ancient, something that has always been here, watching, waiting. The hunger pulses rhythmic like a heartbeat that isn't mine, but is everything. The world around me is dark, but not entirely. There is a faint, eerie glow, like the light of distant stars, distant, unreachable, like the faint embers of a fire long extinguished. And then I see them, the others, the ones who were lost before me, the ones who came after. Their faces flicker in and out of existence, distorted and twisted in ways I can't fully comprehend. Their eyes are hollow, empty, yet burning with the same ember light. Their mouths move in silent screams, their hands reaching toward me, toward something, toward the cycle. I try to speak, but my voice is swallowed by the silence. I try to move, but my body feels heavy, distant. It's not mine anymore. I'm not me. I am part of the hunger, part of the forest, part of the cycle. The figure with ember eyes stands before me, towering impossibly tall. Its form is not solid, not entirely. It flickers like a shadow, shifting in ways that shouldn't be possible. Its eyes, those ember eyes, burn into me, into my very soul. I don't feel fear anymore. There is no fear. There is only the hunger that has always been, the hunger that will never end. It speaks, but not in words. Its voice is a sound, a vibration that shakes my bones, that reverberates through my very being. It is the voice of the forest, the voice of the hunger, the voice of the cycle. You are the last, but I am not the last. I am the beginning. I am the one who will carry the hunger forward, who will continue the cycle, who will never stop. I am the first of the new, the one who will replace the old, who will feed the hunger for eternity. The others move around me now, their forms flickering, shifting, merging with the darkness. They are the forest. They are the hunger. They are the cycle. And I am one of them. I feel their presence in my mind, in my body, in my soul. We are the same. We are all the same. The figure with ember eyes steps forward, its hand reaching toward me, its fingers long and cold. I don't pull away. I don't want to. I let it take me, let it pull me into the center of the cycle. The hunger is everywhere now, in everything, in me. The symbols on my skin burn, searing into my flesh, and I welcome it. I welcome the pain. I welcome the hunger. I close my eyes, and the world shifts again. I am no longer in the dark, in the void. I am in the forest, the place where it all began. The trees stretch high above me, their gnarled roots twisting beneath the earth. The symbols are carved into the bark, into the ground, into the very air itself. They pulse with the rhythm of the hunger, of the cycle. And I am part of it now. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. I step through, but the forest isn't the same anymore. The trees are taller, their twisted limbs reaching toward the sky like hands begging for something, anything. The ground beneath my feet is soft, damp, as if the earth itself is breathing. The air is thick with the scent of decay and something else, something sweeter, like the smell of rot before it turns to dust. I look around, and the symbols are everywhere, etched into the bark of every tree, painted in dark, sticky streaks across the ground. They pulse with a slow, steady rhythm, like a heartbeat in the silence. They feel familiar now, as though they are part of me, part of my very essence. I touch one, my fingers brushing the rough, jagged lines, and I feel it, a surge of energy, a connection. The hunger. It is here, inside me, inside everything. The figure with ember eyes is no longer a distant shadow. It is here, standing before me, its form shifting and flickering like smoke in the wind. It doesn't speak, but I feel its presence in my bones, in my blood. It is the hunger, the forest, the cycle. It is everything. It moves toward me, its ember eyes glowing brighter, burning with an intensity that makes my chest tighten. I don't move, don't flinch. I am no longer afraid. I am part of it now. I am part of the hunger, part of the forest, part of the cycle. It reaches out, its hand cold and long, and I let it take me. I let it pull me into the heart of the forest, into the heart of the hunger. The ground beneath my feet shifts, the trees bending and warping, their roots stretching toward me like fingers, pulling me deeper. The air grows heavier, thicker, until I can barely breathe. But I don't need to breathe. I am the forest now. I am the hunger. I am the cycle. The others are here too. The ones who came before, the ones who came after. They're the forest, the hunger, the cycle. Their faces flicker in and out of existence, their eyes glowing with the same ember light. Their mouths move in silent screams, but I don't hear them. I don't need to. They are part of me now. We are all part of the same thing. The figure with ember eyes stands before me, its form flickering in the dim light. It doesn't speak, but I feel its voice in my mind, in my soul. You are the one. I don't know what it means. I don't need to. I am the one. I am the beginning, the end, the cycle. I am the hunger. and the hunger is me. I take a step forward, and the others follow. We move together, a single, undulating mass of shadow and light, of hunger and desire. We are the forest, we are the cycle, we are the hunger, and it will never end. I step forward, but the ground beneath me shifts, pulling me deeper, as though the earth itself is alive, eager to claim me as its own. The trees stretch higher, their limbs twisting and coiling like serpents, their bark writhing with more symbols, more markings. They pulse with the rhythm of the hunger, the same steady beat that echoes in my chest, in my bones, in my very soul. I am no longer me. I am part of it, part of the forest, part of the cycle. The hunger is not something outside of me. It is something within, something I cannot escape, nor do I want to. I can feel it coursing through me, through every vein, every breath. It is everything. It is nothing. It is home. The others move around me, their forms indistinct, flickering in and out of reality like ghosts, like echoes of something that once was. Their eyes burn with the same ember light, and though they are silent, I know what they are thinking. I know what they are feeling. We are the same. We are the hunger. We are the forest. We are the cycle. The figure with the ember eyes watches from the distance, its presence a constant weight pressing down on me, on all of us. Its gaze is suffocating, and yet I am drawn to it. It is the center of it all, the source, the beginning and the end, the one who watches, who waits, who guides. It steps forward, its long limbs moving with a fluidity that defies the laws of nature. Its ember eyes burn brighter, casting an eerie glow on everything around us. I feel its gaze on me, piercing through me, and for a moment, I wonder if it sees me, the last remnants of who I once was, or if it only sees the hunger, the forest, the cycle. And then it speaks, not with words, but with a voice that reverberates through my very being, a voice that is not heard with the ears but felt with the soul. You have become what you were always meant to be. I don't respond, because I don't need to. I know the truth now. I know what I have become. I am not lost anymore. I'm not the person I was. I am part of something far greater, far older. I am part of the hunger, part of the forest, part of the cycle, and there is no escaping it. The figure with the ember eyes extends its hand, long and cold, and I don't hesitate. I step forward, my hand reaching toward it, and as our fingers meet, I feel the pulse of the forest, the pulse of the hunger, surge through me. It is a part of me now, and I am a part of it. The others gather around us, their faces flickering like distant stars, their eyes burning with the same ember light. We are one now. We are the cycle. We are the hunger. We are the forest. And the door, the one that opened for me all those days ago, is still there. It is always there, always waiting, always open. But it is not a door anymore. It is a gateway, a passage into something else, something beyond. I step through, and the world around me shifts again, like the turning of a page, like the opening of a new chapter. The hunger is still with me, still within me, and it will never leave. It is the cycle. It is the forest. It is me. The door is always open, and it is always waiting. I step through. The air is colder now, sharper, the very atmosphere thick with a presence I can't name. I feel it pressing against me, as if the world itself is watching, waiting, and I know, this is where it all converges. This is the place where the cycle begins anew, where the hunger grows and feeds. The door that once stood behind me has vanished, leaving only an endless stretch of darkness ahead. The forest no longer surrounds me. It is within me, its roots twisting deep inside my chest, its leaves rustling in my blood. The figures, the others, are still with me, though they no longer flicker like ghosts. They are solid now, their faces as featureless as the trees, their eyes burning with the same ember light that has consumed us all. We are not separate anymore. We are one. We are the hunger. I can hear it now, the faintest hum in the distance. It's like a song, but not one meant to soothe. It calls to me, to all of us, a promise, a beckoning. It's the pulse of the forest, the rhythm of the cycle, and it leads me forward, deeper into the unknown. The ground beneath my feet shifts again, and I stumble, but I don't fall. I don't need to. The earth itself catches me, cradles me, as if it knows my place in all of this. The hunger, the forest, the cycle, the beginning and the end. The trees ahead of me are different now. They are not just trees. They are towers, reaching impossibly high. Their trunks thick with the symbols I've seen so many times before. But now they are not just symbols. They are words. They are language. They are the map of everything, the guide to the heart of it all. I reach out to touch one, my fingers brushing against the rough bark, and a shock of energy courses through me. The hunger stirs within me, and I feel the weight of it, the enormity of it, settle in my chest. It is a living thing, a force beyond comprehension, and I am part of it. I am its vessel, its conduit, a voice no voices whisper in my mind. Thousands of them, all speaking at once, all speaking the same thing. Welcome home. I don't know how long I stand there, my hand on the tree, my mind filled with the endless whispers. Time doesn't exist here. There is only the hunger, the forest, the cycle. And then I see it, at the center of the clearing, surrounded by the towering trees. There is a figure. It is not like the others. It is larger, its form more solid, more real. Its ember eyes glow brighter than ever before, and its presence is overwhelming. It is the source, the origin of everything. It is the hunger, the forest, the cycle. It is the one. It steps forward, its long limbs moving with a fluid grace, and I feel the weight of its gaze on me, on all of us. I am no longer separate. I am no longer me. I am part of it, part of the hunger, part of the forest, part of the cycle. The figure reaches out, and I step forward to meet it, my hand trembling as I extend it toward the cold, outstretched fingers. The moment we touch, the world around me shatters. The forest falls away, the trees disintegrating into ash, the ground crumbling beneath my feet. I am falling, but I don't feel fear. I feel nothing but the hunger, the pull of the cycle, the force that has always been with me. And then nothing. Silence. Darkness. I am floating, suspended in the void, and I know now. I know what I have become. I am the forest. I am the hunger. I am the cycle. I am the beginning and the end. And it will never stop. The silence stretches on, endless and suffocating. I feel weightless, as though I've become untethered from everything, time, space, the very concept of self. There is only the hunger, pulsing in the depths of my mind, the rhythmic thrum that has always been there, even before I knew it. It is ancient, it is infinite, and it is alive. I feel it now more than ever, not just within me, but around me, pressing in from all directions, suffusing the darkness. I try to move, but my limbs feel foreign, as though they belong to someone else. They don't respond to my thoughts. I try to scream, but no sound comes. There's only the deep, insistent pull of the hunger, drawing me towards something important. I don't know what it is, but I know I must find it. Then, in the blackness, a flicker of light. At first, it is small, like a distant star, but it grows, expanding, revealing itself to be something more, a doorway, a tear in the fabric of this place. Through it, I can see the faintest outline of something familiar, something that sends a shiver down my spine. The trees, the forest, the symbols. The door calls to me, beckoning, pulling me forward. I don't hesitate. I move toward it, though I don't know how. My body responds without thought, as if it knows the way. The hunger drives me, and I follow it, step after step, until I am standing at the threshold. I step through. The air is thick and heavy, charged with an energy that makes my skin prickle. I am back in the forest. But something is wrong. The trees are twisted, their limbs reaching toward the sky like gnarled fingers, their bark covered in symbols, more than before, covering every inch of the trunks, the branches, the ground. The symbols pulse with an eerie, unnatural light, casting long shadows that stretch and writhe as if alive. The air smells of rot and decay, of something ancient and forgotten. And then I hear it, the whispering. It's faint at first, like the rustling of leaves in the wind, but then it grows louder, clearer. Words form in the darkness, words I can't understand, but they fill me with a sense of dread, of inevitability. The hunger stirs inside me, but now it feels different, more insistent, more hungry. I look around, but there is no sign of the others. The figures who once walked beside me are gone, swallowed by the forest, lost to whatever force controls this place. I am alone, but I am not truly alone. The figure with the ember eyes appears before me, its form emerging from the shadows, towering and cold. Its eyes burn with a fierce, unblinking light, and I feel them on me, searing through my very soul. It steps forward, its long limbs moving with unnatural grace. And I know, deep down, that it is the one who controls this place, the one who has always been watching, always been waiting. It reaches out, its hand cold as death, and I don't resist. I can't. The hunger is too strong, too overwhelming. I am no longer myself. I am part of it, part of the forest, part of the cycle. Its fingers brush against my skin, and a shock of cold runs through me, down to my very core. The hunger surges, and I feel it, taking root inside me, deeper than before. It is not just a part of me anymore. It is me. And then I understand, the hunger is not just a force. It is not just a cycle. It is the forest. It is the land. It is everything. It is the life that grows here, the death that feeds it. It is the beginning and the end, the one constant in a world that has no place for anything else. And I am its vessel. I am its servant. I am its home. The figure with the ember eyes steps closer, its presence overwhelming, and I know what I must do. The cycle must continue. The hunger must be fed. The forest must grow. The world must turn. And so, I walk. I walk deeper into the forest, my footsteps echoing through the silence. The trees part before me, the symbols glowing brighter as I pass. The hunger stirs inside me, urging me onward, pushing me toward the heart of it all. The place where the cycle begins again, where it never ends. I don't know how long I walk, but when I reach it, I know. The heart of the forest, the center of the cycle, the place where it all began, the place where the hunger was born. And it is waiting for me. The figure with the ember eyes stands at the center, its gaze fixed on me, its eyes burning with an intensity that fills me with a strange sense of peace. The hunger swells inside me, and I know it is time. The forest has claimed me. The cycle has claimed me, and I will feed it. I will feed the hunger. I will become the forest, and the cycle will continue. Forever. The air thickens, and the ground beneath my feet shifts once more, as if the forest itself is rearranging, molding itself to accommodate my presence. The symbols pulse around me, brighter now, their glow intensifying with every step I take toward the center. I can feel the weight of their meaning, their ancient power, seeping into my skin, my bones, my very soul. The figure with the ember eyes doesn't move, but its gaze is all-encompassing, its presence like a heavy fog pressing in on me from all sides. It is watching, waiting, its hunger almost palpable. I am no longer afraid. The fear has dissolved, replaced by something else, something darker, more primal. The hunger within me calls to it, and I know it feels the same pull. The forest hums, a low, vibrating sound that seems to echo through my very being. It is alive, more alive than anything I've ever known. And I am part of it now. I have always been part of it. I reach the heart of the forest, where the trees form a perfect circle, their trunks twisted and gnarled, their branches intertwining above to create a canopy of darkness. In the center of the circle is a stone altar, worn and weathered by time, its surface etched with the same symbols that cover the forest. The air is thick with the scent of decay, of something long dead and forgotten. But there is also a faint sweetness beneath it, a promise of something more. The figure steps forward now, its movements fluid, almost graceful. It reaches out with one long, skeletal hand, and I feel the hunger surge within me, urging me to kneel, to accept the ritual, to become one with the forest. I do not hesitate. I do not question. I step forward, my body moving of its own accord, my mind lost in the pull of the cycle. The figure places its cold hand on my forehead, and in that instant, I am flooded with visions. The forest, vast and unending, stretching out into eternity. The symbols burning with life, crawling across the earth like veins. The hunger, ancient and insatiable, gnawing at the very heart of the world. And I see it, the cycle, the endless loop that has consumed everything before me and will consume everything after. I'm not the first. I will not be the last. The figure's eyes glow brighter now, their ember light searing into my mind. I see the past, the first forest, the first hunger, the first sacrifice. I see the creatures, twisted and deformed by the hunger, their faces indistinguishable from the trees. I see the ones who came before me, the ones who were claimed by the forest, their bodies hollow, their souls devoured by the cycle. And I understand, the hunger is not just a force. It is a way of being, a state of existence that transcends life and death. It is the foundation of the forest, the source of its power. And I am its latest offering. I am the vessel, the chosen one, the one who will carry the cycle forward. The figure steps back, its eyes never leaving mine. I can feel the hunger in me, filling me, becoming me. I am no longer separate from it. I am no longer myself. I am the forest. I am the hunger. I am the cycle. The figure raises its arms, and the ground trembles. The trees groan, their roots shifting beneath the earth. The symbols on the altar glow brighter, pulsing in time with the beat of my heart. The forest is alive, and it is waiting for me to take my place. I step forward, my hands trembling as I place them on the stone altar. The hunger surges within me, filling every part of me, every thought, every breath. The forest is calling, its roots twisting deeper into my soul, its branches reaching for the sky. I am becoming part of it. I am becoming part of the cycle. And then with a single final breath, I let go. The world around me shatters, the trees splintering into dust, the symbols fading into nothingness. The hunger swells, consuming everything in its path, and I am no longer me. I am the forest. I am the hunger. I am the cycle, and it will never end. The void is silent for a moment, as though the world itself has paused, holding its breath. Then, the hunger stirs once more, a presence that wraps around me, binding me to the essence of the forest. I am no longer a singular entity, but a part of something vast, something ancient. The weight of its power is unbearable, but it is mine now, woven into the very fabric of my being. I feel the forest stretch out, its roots and branches extending far beyond the horizon, into the depths of the earth and the far reaches of the sky. The trees whisper, their voices a symphony of longing and despair. The hunger, the cycle, is endless, and I am at its center, its heart. I can feel the lives of those who came before me, their presence lingering in the air, their souls twisted and consumed by the forest. I am one with them now, a part of the forest's eternal hunger. The symbols, once mere markings on bark and stone, now pulse with an eerie life, glowing with a faint, otherworldly light. They are not just signs. They are the veins of the forest, the pathways through which its power flows. I can hear them now, a soft murmur in the distance, calling me to follow. But I am not alone. I feel them, those who have come before me, their twisted forms moving in the shadows, their eyes empty, their souls lost to the hunger. They are the remnants of the cycle, the ones who were consumed, who were claimed by the forest long ago. Their faces are familiar, though distorted, their features warped by the passage of time and the pull of the hunger. I see them in the distance, standing like sentinels, waiting for the next offering. And I know, I am the offering. The forest grows restless, its pulse quickening, its hunger stirring. The air is thick with the scent of decay, of life and death intertwined. I feel the weight of the cycle, the endless loop that binds everything together. The hunger is insatiable, and it will not stop. It cannot stop. It is the essence of this place, the force that drives it, the force that has always driven it. I look around, and the trees seem to lean in closer, their gnarled branches reaching out like hands, their bark covered in the same symbols, their roots twisting beneath the earth. The forest is alive, and it is waiting for me to take my place, to continue the cycle, to feed the hunger. The figure with the ember eyes stands at the edge of the clearing, its gaze never leaving me. I feel its presence, like a shadow that stretches across the earth, its hunger a mirror of my own. It is the first, the oldest, the one who set this cycle in motion. And now, it watches as I become part of it, as I take my place in the eternal dance of life and death. I step forward, my body moving of its own accord, my limbs heavy with the weight of the hunger. The air crackles with energy, and the ground beneath me trembles. The forest is alive, and it is calling me to join it, to become one with it. I place my hands on the altar once more, the stone cold beneath my touch. The hunger surges within me, filling every part of my being, until I am no longer aware of where I end and the forest begins. The symbols glow brighter, pulsing in time with the beat of my heart, and I feel the cycle begin again. The figure with the ember eyes steps forward, its form shifting and changing, becoming one with the shadows. It reaches out, its hand cold and steady, and I feel it press against my chest, right where my heart should be. There is no pain, only a deep, overwhelming sense of completion. The hunger is fed, the cycle continues, and I am part of it, forever. The forest whispers around me, its voice a soft murmur that fades into the distance. The hunger stirs once more, and I am carried along with it, drifting into the endless dark, where the cycle never ends, where the forest lives and breathes and waits for the next offering. And I am the offering, forever. The darkness thickens, and I feel myself slipping further into the forest's embrace. Time is no longer a concept I can grasp. The boundaries between self and surroundings blur, until I am no longer certain where I end and the forest begins. The hunger is all that remains, a gnawing emptiness that fills the spaces between my thoughts. I hear whispers, but they're not mine. They echo through the trees, carried by the wind, their voices layered with centuries of longing. It's the voices of those who came before me, their souls twisted into the roots, their bodies nothing more than echoes of their former selves. They speak of the cycle, of the endless loop that traps them here in the heart of the forest where the hunger waits. I can feel them, their presence pressing against me, just beyond the edge of my awareness. Their eyes, hollow and empty, peer out from the shadows, watching, waiting. They are the remnants of the forest's hunger, those who were consumed and are now part of it. They were once like me, but now they are nothing more than whispers in the dark, their souls lost to the cycle. The forest grows still, as though holding its breath, and I am left alone with the hunger. It is the only thing that remains, the only thing that matters. It calls to me, pulling me deeper, urging me to surrender completely. The altar, the symbols, the figure with the ember eyes, they are all distant memories now, fading into the background as the hunger takes center stage. And then, a new presence stirs within me. It's faint at first, a whisper of a thought, a flicker of something unfamiliar. But it grows stronger, more insistent. It's a feeling, something human, something that shouldn't belong here, in the heart of the forest. It's a pulse, a heartbeat, thudding in time with my own. It's the last vestige of my former self, fighting against the hunger, struggling to break free. But it's too late. The hunger is all-consuming. It fills every corner of my mind, every inch of my body. It is the forest, and I am its servant. The struggle fades, and I give in, embracing the emptiness, letting it wash over me. The hunger is no longer a force outside of me. It is me. It is my purpose. It is my existence. I hear the whispers again, louder now, rising in a chorus of voices, all calling to me. They speak of the cycle, of the endless loop that traps us all in this place. They speak of the forest hunger, how it feeds and grows, how it waits for the next offering. And I understand now, I'm not the first. I will not be the last. The hunger will never be sated. It will always call, always wait, always need, and I will always answer. The forest is alive, and I am part of it, forever. The weight of the forest presses deeper into me, suffocating every trace of thought that remains. The hunger is now a part of my very essence, a pulsating rhythm that matches my heartbeat, the echo of the trees that stretch endlessly around me. Their roots burrow into the earth, and I feel them, feel myself, merge with them, the lines between who I was and what I have become blurring into nothing. But even as I surrender, even as the hunger devours what little is left of my humanity, a distant part of me, an echo of something long lost, fights to remember. There is a flicker, a fading memory of a place beyond the trees, of sunlight, of faces that once mattered. It's a fleeting image, like a dream on the verge of slipping away. But I know it's there. I know it was once real. And it hurts. The forest senses this last ember of resistance. The trees groan, their limbs shuddering with something ancient, something primal. The hunger stirs, not content with what it has claimed. It demands more, always more. I can feel it now, pulling at the edges of my mind. The whispers grow louder, sharper, their voices a cacophony of those who have been consumed. They speak of the forest's hunger, of the endless cycle, and of the price of resistance. They tell me, in their fragmented, broken voices, that the hunger will never let go. Not truly, not until everything is consumed. A tremor runs through the ground, a shiver that makes the air itself feel charged. Something shifts in the distance. The symbols, the ones etched into the trees and carved into the earth, begin to glow brighter, their light flickering like dying embers. The hunger knows what is happening. It feels the resistance, the last vestige of humanity fighting to break free. And then I see it. In the distance, beyond the trees, there is a figure, tall and gaunt, its silhouette a twisted reflection of the figure with the ember eyes. It stands still, watching, waiting. Its eyes burn with an intensity that I feel in the marrow of my bones. The hunger roars within me, its need for the figure overwhelming. But something else rises too, something darker, something that trembles with fear. The figure takes a step forward, and the ground beneath me shifts, as if the forest itself is moving to meet it. The air is thick with the scent of decay, of something ancient and foul. The trees bend and twist, their branches reaching out like clawed hands, their shadows lengthening, stretching toward the figure. It moves again, closer this time, its form shifting as it steps into the clearing. Its eyes lock onto mine, and I feel the hunger surge within me, a tidal wave of need, of want. It is the hunger's master, the one who set this cycle in motion. It is the source, the origin of everything. And now, it has come to claim me fully. I try to move, but my body is not my own. The hunger has taken everything, leaving only an empty shell. I am nothing more than a vessel for it, a puppet whose strings are pulled by forces I cannot understand. The figure is close now, its presence overwhelming, suffocating. Its eyes burn into mine, and I know that I am no longer just a part of the forest. I am its next offering. It reaches out, its hand cold and steady, and I feel it touch my chest. The hunger roars inside me, its need unbearable, but there is no escape. I am consumed, swallowed by the figure's gaze, by the darkness that has claimed me. And in that moment, I understand the cycle will never end. The hunger will never be sated. The forest will always wait, always call, always need, and I will always answer. Forever. The figure's hand presses deeper into my chest, and I feel the pulse of something ancient and cold, something far older than the trees, than the soil beneath me. The hunger swells, a tidal wave of need crashing over me, pulling me toward it, but there is no resistance anymore. It is as though the very air has turned to thick, suffocating tar, binding me in place, trapping me between the figure and the forest that breathes and groans around me. The hunger is no longer mine to control. It has become something else, something far greater. I feel the weight of countless souls pressing in, their whispers echoing in my mind, rising in a chorus of longing, of despair. They too were once human. They too answered the call of the forest. But now they are lost, consumed by the endless cycle, their voices twisted into something unrecognizable, something that belongs to the hunger. The figure tilts its head, its ember eyes flickering with a terrible understanding. It knows that I am no longer just a part of the forest. I am its part now, its next offering, its next vessel. It has seen this before countless times. It is the forest master, the one who set this hunger in motion. And it is here to claim me fully. I feel my body shift, as if the very marrow in my bones is being drawn out, pulled into the roots of the trees that surround me. My skin stretches, my muscles twist, and I am no longer sure where I end and the forest begins. I am dissolving into the earth, becoming one with it, becoming one with the hunger. The figure steps closer, its form shifting, flickering like a flame on the edge of the wind. It is not entirely human, not entirely anything. It is a shape, a presence, a void that consumes everything it touches. Its eyes burn brighter now, and I feel the weight of its gaze as it pierces through me, through everything I once was. And then a voice, faint but clear, breaks through the haze of hunger and whispers. You are not lost. The words are a thread, delicate and fragile, but they cut through the darkness like a blade. I hear them, feel them, deep within me. The voice is not the figures. It is not the hungers. It is something else, something that has been waiting for me to remember. I try to focus on the words, on the voice, but it's hard. The hunger pulls at me, wraps around me like a tightening coil. But there is something in the voice that is familiar, something that feels like a flicker of the self I once was. A spark of resistance, buried beneath layers of hunger and fear. You are not lost. The voice grows louder now, more insistent. It is not my voice, but it feels like mine. It feels like something that has been locked away, deep within me, waiting for this moment. The hunger, the forest, the figure, they're all still there pressing against me, but now I can feel something else rising within me. A memory, a name. It's fleeting, like a dream on the edge of waking, but it's enough. Enough to pull me back, if only for a moment. The figure's eyes flicker, and I feel its grip loosen, just slightly. It senses the change, the shift within me. It knows I am fighting, that I am not entirely its servant yet. But the hunger is strong, and it claws at me, dragging me back into the dark. But the voice, my voice, grows louder still, rising above the roar of the hunger, the whispers, the forest. It speaks a name, my name. You are not lost. The world shifts. The hunger roars, but it falters just for a moment. The figure steps back, its ember eyes narrowing as if confused, as if it cannot understand what is happening. The trees groan, the symbols on their bark flickering, as if the very fabric of the forest is unraveling. And in that moment, I know what I must do. I reach deep inside, past the hunger, past the forest, past the figure. I reach for that last sliver of humanity, that last shred of resistance that still clings to me. It is weak, fragile, but it is enough. I remember. I tear my mind free from the grasp of the forest, from the hunger, from the endless cycle. I take one last, desperate step back from the figure, from the trees, from the darkness. The forest screams. The hunger roars, louder than it ever has before, but it cannot hold me. Not anymore. I run. I run as fast as I can, my legs moving on their own, fueled by a strength I didn't know I had. The trees blur past me, their twisted forms reaching for me, but I don't stop. I can hear the figure behind me, its ember eyes burning with fury, but I don't look back. I can feel the hunger chasing me, but I don't let it catch me. I don't know how long I run. Time has no meaning here, but I run until my legs give out, until my breath is ragged, until the forest fades into the distance. And then, finally, silence. I collapse, my body trembling, my mind reeling. I am free, or at least I think I am, but even as I lie there, gasping for air, I feel the hunger stirring, faintly, deep inside me. It is not gone. Not yet. The forest will always wait. It will always hunger, and I will always answer. I lie on the ground, gasping for air, my limbs trembling as if they've been pulled apart and put back together wrong. The silence around me is almost deafening, an absence so profound it feels like the world itself is holding its breath. The hunger is still there, lurking beneath the surface, a pulse in the back of my mind that refuses to fade. I know it will never truly let me go, but for now I am free. The ground beneath me feels solid real. The weight of the forest has lifted, and for a fleeting moment, I believe I've outrun it. The trees that once reached for me, their branches twisted in dark hunger, now seem distant, far behind me. The air is crisp, clean, untainted by the oppressive stench of decay that had clung to the forest like a shroud. I can hear the wind rustling the leaves of trees I don't recognize, but they are not the gnarled, skeletal branches that had once surrounded me. They are just trees, ordinary trees. But even as I let the illusion of safety settle around me, something in the back of my mind gnaws at me. A whisper, faint and almost inaudible, but there. I can't place it, but I know it's familiar. It's the same voice that had guided me, the one that had spoken my name in the depths of the forest. I sit up slowly, my body protesting the movement, but I force myself to rise. The landscape around me is barren, a stretch of flat, cracked earth that seems to go on forever. There are no signs of life here, no animals, no plants, just a vast emptiness that stretches into the horizon. The hunger stirs again, a faint pull at the edges of my consciousness. It's not gone. It never will be. I can feel it, like a shadow lingering just behind me, waiting for me to turn around. I look back, and for the first time, I see it clearly. The forest is not gone. It's there, just beyond the horizon, stretching out like a dark stain against the sky. It's waiting for me, its hunger eternal, its presence a constant, gnawing pull that will never be sated. But there's something different about it now. The trees aren't just trees. They are alive, in a way I hadn't understood before. Their roots stretch out, twisting beneath the earth, weaving through the cracks in the ground like veins. The symbols I had seen before are etched into the land itself, glowing faintly beneath the surface, pulsing with a rhythm that matches my own heartbeat. And the figure with the ember eyes, it stands at the edge of the forest, its silhouette impossibly tall, its gaze locked onto me. It doesn't move, doesn't speak, but I can feel it watching me, waiting. The hunger grows louder now, a roar in the back of my mind. It is not satisfied. It will never be satisfied. But I am different now. I have seen the figure. I have felt its power. And I know what it is capable of. I know that it is not just a part of the forest. It is the forest. It is the hunger. It is the darkness that has always been there, waiting for someone like me to answer its call. And I realize something else. I am not free. I am not running from the forest. I am running toward it. The hunger calls to me, but I do not answer. Not yet. I turn away from the figure, away from the forest, and begin to walk. Each step feels heavy, as if the ground beneath me is trying to pull me back, to drag me into the earth where the hunger resides. But I keep moving, one foot in front of the other, forcing myself to keep going. I don't know how far I walk. I don't know if I'm heading in the right direction, or if I am simply walking in circles. The emptiness around me is suffocating, the silence unbearable. But still I walk. I walk because I have no other choice. And then in the distance I see something, a shape, a figure. It's not the figure from the forest. This one is different. It is smaller, more human, but there is something wrong with it. Its skin is pale, almost translucent, and its eyes are wide, unblinking. It stands motionless, just watching me. I stop, my heart pounding in my chest. The hunger stirs again, but this time, it is not just the hunger of the forest. It is the hunger of something else, something deeper, something that has been waiting for me all along. The figure does not move, but its eyes seem to see me, to reach into me, pulling at the very core of my being. I feel my body tremble, my mind falter, as if I am losing control. The hunger is rising, clawing at my insides, demanding that I give in. But I don't. Not yet. I take a step toward the figure, then another, my legs unsteady beneath me. The figure's eyes follow me, unblinking, its presence heavy in the air. The closer I get, the stronger the pull becomes. I can feel the hunger surging within me, threatening to overtake me, but I fight it. I must fight it. When I am close enough, I stop. The figure doesn't move, doesn't speak, but I can feel it reaching for me, its presence filling the air, suffocating me. And then it raises a hand, slowly, deliberately, pointing toward the horizon. I follow the line of its finger, and my breath catches in my throat. The forest is not just a place. It is a realm, a world unto itself, stretching far beyond what I had ever imagined. The hunger is not just a force, it is a presence. And it is not just the forest that calls to me. It is everything, and I am its next offering. The hunger has always been inside me, waiting. And now it is time to answer. I stand there, frozen, my body trembling as the figure's gaze locks onto mine. Its eyes are endless, black pools that seem to draw me in deeper and deeper, until I can no longer tell where I end and it begins. The hunger stirs inside me, a gnawing, insatiable thing, and I feel the first stirrings of something I had not expected, longing. I want to move, to run, but my legs feel like they belong to someone else. The ground beneath me seems to shift, the cracks in the earth widening, as if to swallow me whole. The air is thick, pressing against my chest, making it harder to breathe. The figure's hand remains outstretched, pointing toward the horizon, its silent command hanging between us like a weight I can't escape. The horizon. It's not just a line anymore. It's a gateway, an opening in the fabric of the world, a place where the forest doesn't end, but begins. I see it now, the shapes that move within it, the dark tendrils that stretch out, reaching for me, beckoning. And I know, deep down, that if I step forward, if I cross that line, there will be no coming back. The hunger inside me surges, a scream rising in my throat. It calls to me, louder now, demanding that I give in, that I step forward, that I embrace it. I know what it will cost me, but I also know that it is the only way to end this, to stop the gnawing, the endless ache, to stop the pull that has been in me since the first day I set foot in that cursed forest. The figure's eyes never leave mine. It doesn't need to speak. Its presence is enough. I want to look away. I want to run, to tear myself from this place and never return. But the hunger has already taken root, deep inside me. The whispers from the forest, the calls from the shadows, they have all led me here. I don't know how long I stand there, fighting the pull, the temptation to walk into the dark. The world around me is still, silent, as if it too is waiting for something to happen. And then I hear it, a voice. Not the figures, not the hungers, but something else, something familiar. It's soft, almost a whisper, but it cuts through the silence like a blade. It's not too late. I don't recognize the voice, but it feels like it belongs to me. It feels like a part of me, something that has been buried deep inside, waiting to be heard. I blink, and for a moment, the figure's eyes seem to flicker, a brief flash of something, fear? Or maybe it's just my imagination. But it's enough to make me take a step back. The ground trembles beneath my feet, the cracks in the earth widening even further, but I don't move. I don't take another step forward. I don't let the hunger pull me in. The figure watches me, its hands slowly lowering, its presence still suffocating, but now there's a flicker of something else in its gaze. Something uncertain. It's as if it knows it has lost its grip on me, just for a moment. And in that moment I turn and run. My legs are shaky, my breath ragged, but I run. I don't look back. I don't dare to look back, because I know that if I do, I will be lost again. The hunger will consume me, the forest will swallow me whole, and I will never escape. I don't know how long I run. Minutes? Hours? The world around me blurs, the landscape shifting and changing, but I keep going. I push myself harder, faster, my body protesting every step, but I don't stop. And then, as if by some miracle, I see it. The edge. The line where the forest meets the open land, where the trees stop and the horizon stretches out, clear and free. I'm almost there. I can feel the hunger still gnawing at the edges of my mind, but it's fading. It's losing its grip on me, its pull weakening with every step I take away from it. The whispers grow fainter, the oppressive weight of the forest lifting. I'm almost free. I reach the edge of the forest, my heart pounding in my chest, and I stop. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if the hunger will ever truly let me go, if the forest will ever stop calling. But for now, I am free, and that's enough. I take a deep breath, the air clean and cool in my lungs, and I step forward, into the light. I don't look back. I can't. The air feels different here, clearer, as if the weight of the forest has been lifted, but something gnaws at the edges of my consciousness, a faint echo of the hunger that still lingers deep within me. The trees behind me stand still, silent, as if they are waiting, watching, their roots stretching beneath the earth, reaching for me even now. I force myself to keep moving one step after another, as if the very act of walking away from the forest might somehow sever the bond that has tied me to it. But the ground beneath my feet feels wrong, soft, too soft. It gives way, as though the earth itself is unsettled, shifting with the same unease that churns inside me. And then I hear it again, a whisper. It's faint, like a breath on the wind, but it's there, clear as day. You can't escape. I freeze, my heart leaping into my throat. The words aren't just a warning, they're a promise. A cruel reminder that the forest is still with me, still inside me. The hunger, the presence, it's not something that can be outrun, not something that can be left behind. I try to shake it off to convince myself that it's just my mind playing tricks on me, but deep down I know the truth. The forest is still watching, still waiting. I keep walking, faster now, my legs aching, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The horizon ahead should be an escape, but it feels like a trap, a line I can't cross. I'm drawn to it, pulled toward it like a moth to a flame. But every step I take feels like it's leading me in the wrong direction. I glance over my shoulder, just for a moment, and there it is, the figure. It stands at the edge of the trees, its ember eyes glowing faintly in the distance. Its hand is raised, pointing at me once again, but this time, I don't feel the pull of hunger. I feel something else, something darker. A recognition. I know that it has been waiting for me, not just in the forest, but here too. It has always been here, in the shadows, in the corners of my mind. I turn away, my body trembling, my heart racing. I can't let it catch me. I can't go back. I don't know what will happen if I do, but I can't outrun it either. The ground shifts beneath me again, and I stumble, my foot catching on something unseen. I fall, my hands scraping against the rough earth as I try to catch myself. The world spins around me, the whispers growing louder, more insistent. You can't escape. I push myself up, my body shaking, but I can't stand. My legs won't hold me. My breath comes in ragged gasps, and I feel the weight of the forest closing in around me. The trees are no longer distant. They're right there, their gnarled roots reaching for me, their branches stretching toward me like claws. And then I hear it, a voice. It's not the figures. It's not the hungers. It's a voice I recognize. A voice I thought I'd left behind. You have to come back. I freeze. My blood runs cold. It's my own voice. I turn, and there, standing just beyond the trees, is a version of me. But it's not me. Not exactly. It's different. Its eyes are dark, hollow, and its skin is pale, almost sickly, as if it's been drained of life. It smiles at me, a twisted, empty smile, and it speaks again. You can't escape what you are. The words hang in the air like a curse. I feel the ground beneath me shift once more, as if the earth itself is swallowing me whole. My heart races in my chest, and I try to move, to run, but my body is frozen, locked in place by the weight of its gaze. The figure behind me steps forward, its ember eyes glowing brighter now, its presence overwhelming. The hunger rises within me, a terrible, insatiable force. I can feel it clawing at my insides, tearing at me, pulling me toward the darkness. You belong to it now, the twisted version of me says, its voice soft, almost comforting. You always have. I try to scream, but no sound escapes my lips. The hunger consumes me, and I realize, too late, that I never left the forest at all. I am still trapped in its grip, and it will never let me go. The ground beneath me shifts again, but this time, it's not just the earth moving. The air itself trembles, vibrating with a low hum, like the sound of distant thunder, or something deeper, something older. My vision blurs, and for a moment, I wonder if I'm dreaming. But no, the pain in my chest is too real, the cold sweat dripping down my spine, too sharp to be anything but reality. The figure, the twisted reflection of myself, takes another step closer. Its hollow eyes never leave mine. The hunger inside me rises, clawing at my insides, as if it's feeding off my fear, my confusion. I want to scream, to run, but my legs are like lead, my body paralyzed by the weight of its gaze. You can't escape, it whispers again, its voice a rasp, as though it's been torn from somewhere deep inside me, somewhere I don't want to acknowledge. The words hang in the air like a suffocating fog. I want to look away, to break free from its gaze, but I can't. It's as if the very act of looking at it is binding me, pulling me deeper into its web. The hunger inside me grows, a gnawing emptiness that I can't outrun, can't escape. I have to fight. I have to fight it. I try to move, to lift my hand, but it's as if my body is made of stone, unyielding, frozen in place. The figure steps closer still, its smile widening, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. The hunger in its eyes mirrors the gnawing emptiness inside me. You belong to it now, it says again, its voice a twisted echo of my own. You've always belonged to it. Suddenly, the ground beneath me shifts violently, and I stumble. The forest around me warps, bending and twisting in unnatural ways. The trees seem to lean in closer, their branches reaching for me like hands, their gnarled roots clawing at the earth, pulling me down. The symbols that had been etched into the ground, into the trees, begin to glow, their faint light flickering like dying embers. They pulse with a rhythm that matches the pounding of my heart. The world tilts, and I feel myself falling into a void. The hunger is overwhelming now, suffocating, as if it's pulling me toward the very center of the earth. I gasp for air, but it feels like I'm drowning. My vision darkens at the edges, the whispers growing louder, swirling around me in a cacophony of voices. My voice, the figure's voice, the voices of the forest itself. You can't escape. You never will. I try to scream, but my throat is dry, my voice lost in the chaos of the forest. The hunger claws at me from the inside, tearing at my soul, and I realize with a sickening clarity that it's not just the forest I've been running from. It's the part of me that's always been there, the part that's always belonged to the forest, the part that's always been waiting. I'm not running from the forest. I'm running from myself. And no matter how far I go, no matter how fast I run, I can never escape. I fall to my knees, my body shaking uncontrollably, the darkness closing in. The figure stands over me now, its ember eyes glowing with a terrible hunger. I can feel its presence inside me, in my chest, in my bones, as if it's become a part of me, as if it's always been there waiting. Welcome home, it whispers, its voice both familiar and foreign, as if it's speaking from inside my own mind. And then, just as I think I can't bear it any longer, the ground beneath me gives way completely. The world tilts, and I fall into the void, the darkness swallowing me whole. But it doesn't feel like falling. It feels like sinking into the forest, into the hunger, into the very heart of it. And I know, with a sickening certainty, that I'm not alone. I don't know how long I've been sinking. Time, space, all of it warps, stretches, and folds in on itself. The ground, the air, the very essence of reality seems to slip through my fingers like sand. I can't tell if I'm falling or floating. There's no up, no down, no beginning or end. Just the endless pull of the hunger, a gnawing, suffocating presence that wraps itself around my soul. The whispers never stop. They're louder now, a chorus of voices that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. They mix with the rhythmic pulse of the cymbals, the hum of the forest, the deep, resonating thrum that vibrates through my very bones. You can't escape. You never could. You belong to it. You always have. I try to block them out, but the words are inescapable, their weight pressing on me from all sides. The hunger inside me grows, its tendrils reaching deeper into my mind, wrapping around my thoughts, squeezing until there's nothing left but its insatiable desire. And then, in the blackness, I see it. A shape, a figure, not the twisted version of myself this time, but something else. Something older. It stands in the distance, shrouded in darkness, its form barely discernible. Its eyes, glowing with that same ember light, burn through the void, fixing on me. The hunger radiates from it like heat from a flame. It takes a step forward, and the ground trembles beneath me. I want to move, to run, but my body is frozen, locked in place by the weight of its gaze. The hunger grows, a terrible force pressing down on me, suffocating me. I can feel it crawling under my skin, twisting through my veins, sinking its claws into my very soul. The figure takes another step, and another. With each movement, the world around me shifts. The darkness deepens, the air thickens, and the symbols that have haunted me since the moment I stepped into the forest, begin to appear again, glowing faintly in the distance. They twist and writhe like living things, pulsing with an energy that makes my skin crawl. You can't escape, the figure says, its voice a low, guttural whisper that seems to echo in my mind, reverberating through the very fabric of my being. You were always meant to return, always meant to be here. I try to scream, but no sound escapes. The hunger inside me is too strong. It's pulling me toward the figure, toward the heart of the forest, toward the very source of the darkness that has claimed me. The figure steps closer, and I can see it more clearly now. Its form is twisted, like a shadow that's been stretched and distorted. Its body is long, unnaturally thin, and its limbs are too long, too spindly, like the branches of the trees themselves. Its face is a mask of darkness, with those ember eyes burning like coals in the blackness. It reaches out, and I feel its presence in my chest, in my mind, in my very soul. I want to pull away, but I can't. I am rooted to the spot, trapped by its gaze, by the hunger, by the forest. Welcome home, it whispers again, and the words send a shiver down my spine. I don't know what it means, but I know it's the truth. I have always belonged to the forest, always belonged to the hunger. And as the figure steps closer, as the darkness closes in around me, I understand. I was never meant to escape. I was never meant to leave. I was always meant to return. And now, the forest has claimed me. The hunger has claimed me, and I will never be free. The figure's hand hovers just inches from my face, its long, skeletal fingers twitching as if it's savoring the moment. The air grows colder, a biting chill that sinks into my bones, and the hunger intensifies, clawing at the edges of my mind. It feels as if the very essence of the forest is inside me now, pulling me apart, piece by piece. I try to resist, but the weight of it is too much. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, echoing in my head, in my chest, in the very marrow of my bones. You are one of us. You always were. The figure leans in closer, its ember eyes burning through the darkness, and I feel its breath, cold, ancient, and wrong, against my skin. It smells like earth, like decay, like something far older than the world itself. Its voice, when it speaks, is like the crackling of dry leaves, the rustling of dead branches in the wind. We've been waiting for you, and then it touches me. Its fingers press against my forehead, and I feel something shift inside me, like the last piece of a puzzle falling into place. The hunger that has been gnawing at me for so long explodes into something more, something darker, something infinite. The world around me fades, and for a moment, I am nothing. There is no forest, no figure, no hunger, just an endless void. And then I see it, the forest. But it's not the same. It's different. The trees stretch higher than I've ever seen, their twisted roots snaking through the earth like veins, pulsing with life, with something far more ancient. The ground beneath me is soft, but there's a sickening, rhythmic throb to it, like a heartbeat that never stops. The symbols are everywhere now, glowing with a sickly light, but they're not just on the trees anymore. They're in the air, swirling around me like a storm of jagged lines and shifting shapes. I can feel them, feel their presence in my chest, in my mind. They are alive. They are watching. And then I understand, I'm not alone here. Not in the way I thought. The figure steps back, its presence still looming over me. But now it's not just the figure. It's the forest itself, the very land beneath my feet, the sky above me. It's the hunger that fills the space between every tree, every leaf, every shadow. It's everything. It always has been. The hunger isn't just inside me. It is me. Welcome home. The figure whispers again, its voice no longer separate from the forest's voice, but a part of it. You've always been a part of this. I try to scream, but my mouth doesn't move. The hunger is too great now. I can feel it in my throat, in my heart, in my very soul. It fills me, consumes me, until there is nothing left but the forest, the hunger, the symbols. And then, the figure steps forward once more, its long, spindly fingers reaching out. It touches my chest, and the world explodes into light. I'm no longer just me. I am the forest. I am the hunger, and I will never leave. The last thing I hear is the whispers, swirling around me like the wind through the trees. The last thing I feel is the pull of the symbols, drawing me deeper into the earth, deeper into the forest, deeper into the hunger. And I know, with a terrible certainty, that this is where I was always meant to be. Forever. The world shifts again, and I feel the weight of it, the gravity of it all, as if the very fabric of reality is bending, warping around me. My body, or what remains of it, trembles under the strain. I can feel the pulse of the earth beneath me, the thrum of the symbols beneath my skin, and the hunger that surges through every vein, every nerve, every thought. The forest stretches out, impossibly vast. Its trees, twisted and gnarled, seem to reach for the stars themselves, their roots burrowing deep into the marrow of the planet. The air is thick with the scent of earth, of decay, of something older than time. The whispers are no longer just voices. They are thoughts, memories, fragments of lives that have long since been consumed by the hunger. I am not alone. I feel them, feel their presence all around me. The lost souls, the ones who came before, who wandered too far into the forest and never returned. They're here with me now. Their voices are part of the wind, part of the rustling leaves, part of the very fabric of the forest itself. You belong to us now. You will never leave. The figure stands before me, no longer a single entity, but a part of the forest itself. Its form shifts, warps, becomes one with the trees, the ground, the sky. It is both everywhere and nowhere. Its ember eyes are the stars, the moon, the sun, burning with an ancient fire that has no end. You were always meant to return. It whispers, and its voice is not a voice at all, but a feeling, a sensation, a truth that seeps into my very bones. You were never meant to leave. I want to scream, to fight, to run. But I can't. I am the forest now. I am the hunger. There is no escape. There never was. The symbols swirl around me, glowing with an eerie light, and I feel myself being drawn into them, pulled into the very center of their power. I can feel them in my chest, in my soul, carving their presence into my very being. The hunger pulses through me, consuming me, reshaping me into something else. I am not human anymore. I am something older, something darker, something that has always existed, just waiting for the right moment to emerge. And now, that moment has come. The hunger rises, and I feel it tear through me, through everything I once was. My body twists, my mind fractures, and I am no longer me. I am the forest. I am the hunger. I am the endless, gnawing desire that has always existed in the shadows, in the dark corners of the world, waiting to be unleashed. And I will never stop. I will never rest. I will never leave. The whispers are louder now, their voices filling my mind, my soul, my very existence. They are the trees. They are the wind. They are the stars. They are everything. Welcome home, they say, and I understand now. I was never meant to escape. I was always meant to return. Forever. The world around me begins to blur, the edges of reality warping as I am pulled deeper into the forest, deeper into the hunger. The ground beneath me is soft, yet firm, as if it's both a part of me and something I can never truly possess. The trees seem to lean in closer, their twisted branches reaching for me, their roots curling around my legs like tendrils, pulling me further into the heart of the forest. I feel the weight of their gaze, the eyes of the trees, the eyes of the lost souls who have become one with the forest. They are watching me, waiting for me to understand, to accept what I have become. The hunger surges again, and I feel it gnawing at the core of my being, a primal, insatiable need that has no beginning and no end. It is not just the hunger for food, for sustenance, but a hunger for something far darker, far deeper. It is a hunger for existence, for power, for the very essence of life itself. I try to resist, but there is nothing left of me to fight. My body is no longer mine. My thoughts are no longer my own. I am a part of the forest now, a part of the hunger that has always been here, lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to consume everything. And that moment is now. The symbols pulse with an unholy light, their jagged lines dancing in the air, shifting and twisting in patterns that make my head spin. They're the language of the forest, the language of the hunger, and I can feel them inside me, carving themselves into my very soul. They are the map, the key, the doorway to something greater. I don't know if I am still human. I don't know if I ever was. The figure that once stood before me is gone, but its presence lingers, woven into the very fabric of the forest. It is no longer just one being. It is everything. It is the trees. It is the earth. It is the sky. It is the hunger. I hear their voices again, the voices of the lost, the ones who came before me. They whisper, but their words are no longer words. They are feelings, sensations, a deep, gnawing understanding that pulses through my veins. You are one of us now. You will never leave. The ground trembles beneath me, and I feel the forest shift, like it is waking from a long slumber. The trees groan, their branches creaking as they stretch toward the sky, their roots twisting deeper into the earth. The symbols flare brighter, their glow intensifying until it burns into my mind, my eyes, my very soul. I am not alone. I am the forest now. I am the hunger, and I will never stop. The forest is alive, and it is endless. It is the past, the present, and the future, all woven together in a tangled web of roots and branches, of whispers and hunger. I am no longer a wanderer lost in the woods. I am part of it, a part of something far older than I can comprehend. The hunger is within me, and it is within everything. The last remnants of my human thoughts flicker in the back of my mind, but they are fading, slipping away like a dream upon waking. There is nothing left but the hunger, nothing left but the forest. And as I stand there, feeling the weight of it all, I realize with terrible clarity that I have become the thing I feared most. I am the forest. I am the hunger. I am the endless, gnawing desire that has always existed in the shadows, in the dark corners of the world, waiting to be unleashed. And now, I am the one waiting, waiting for the next to come, the next to wander too far, the next to become one of us. Forever, the forest hums with life, but not in the way it once did. The sound is different now, darker, deeper, as if the very trees themselves are breathing, exhaling a slow, heavy sigh that reverberates through the earth. The cymbals on the ground pulse with an almost rhythmic beat, as though they are alive, feeding off the essence of everything around them. I can feel it all now. Every root, every leaf, every branch, every shadow. It's as if the forest has merged with my mind, my body, my soul. I am no longer an observer. I am the forest. I am the hunger. The whispers are constant now, flowing like a river through my thoughts. They are no longer words. They are feelings, sensations, memories of things that never happened but somehow feel like they did. The voices of those who have come before me blend with my own, creating a cacophony of thoughts that is both alien and familiar. You are the keeper now. You will never leave. The trees bend in strange ways, their trunks twisting and contorting as if they are trying to communicate, trying to speak with me. The wind carries their groans, their low, guttural moans, as if the very forest is in pain. But it's not pain, it's hunger. The forest is hungry. The hunger is endless. I'm the hunger. I feel the pull, the insatiable need to consume, to grow, to spread. The forest calls to me, its roots beckoning me to follow them deeper, to sink into the earth and become one with it. I know what it wants. I know what it needs. It needs more. More souls. More lives. More memories to feed its endless hunger. I feel the urge to move, to walk, to wander once again. But I am not alone. The forest moves with me, the trees shifting and groaning as I pass. The cymbals shift too, twisting beneath my feet, guiding me towards something. Something that calls to me, something that I must find. I don't know if I want to find it, but I know I will. The forest grows darker, the shadows stretching longer, reaching out to touch me. The air grows colder, thicker, as if the very atmosphere is thickening with the weight of the hunger. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, as if they are urging me on. It's waiting for you. You must feed it. I don't know if I'm still human. I don't know if I ever was. The hunger is too strong, too overwhelming. It consumes everything. My thoughts, my memories, my very identity. I am no longer me. I am part of it, part of the forest, part of the hunger. And the hunger is never satisfied. The trees twist and writhe as I walk, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands, their leaves rustling with a sound that is almost familiar. The symbols on the ground are brighter now, glowing with a sickly light, as if they are feeding off my very presence. They guide me, pulling me towards something deep within the heart of the forest. I don't want to go there, but I have no choice. The forest has claimed me. It has consumed me. There is no escaping it. There is no escaping the hunger. I step forward, my feet sinking into the soft earth, and I feel the ground tremble beneath me. The trees shudder, as if they are anticipating something, waiting for the moment when the hunger will be sated. But I know it won't be. The hunger is endless. It will never stop. I will never stop. And as I move deeper into the forest, the shadows closing in around me, I realize with a terrible certainty that this is not an end. This is only the beginning. The hunger will never stop, and neither will I. The forest feels like a living thing now, pulsating beneath my feet, breathing with me, as if it's synced to the rhythm of my heart. I can feel its presence everywhere, pressing in from all sides. The trees no longer just grow, they stretch, they reach, they watch. The very air is thick with the scent of decay, of something ancient and alive that has been waiting for this moment, for me. I feel the pull again, stronger this time. It tugs at my very core, like an invisible force drawing me towards something. The ground shifts beneath me, the symbols on the earth glowing more brightly, brighter than ever before. They burn into my mind, into my skin, carving themselves into my very being. It's here. The words slip through my thoughts, carried on the wind, soft but urgent. I can hear the rustling of leaves, the soft crackling of branches as something moves just beyond my sight. The air is electric, charged with a tension that I can almost taste. I'm close, so close. The trees begin to part, revealing a clearing ahead. My breath catches in my throat as I step forward, my legs moving of their own accord. The clearing is vast, a strange, unnatural emptiness that feels like the eye of a storm. The ground is bare, save for a single stone at the center, its surface etched with symbols that match the ones I've seen before. No, they're the same. They glow with an eerie light, pulsing in time with my heartbeat, as if the stone itself is alive. I can feel the hunger here, stronger than ever. It thrums in the air, vibrating through my bones, clawing at my insides. The stone calls to me, its surface slick and dark, like it's waiting for me to touch it, to complete the ritual. I can't look away. I can't stop myself. Touch it. The whisper is louder now, more insistent. I reach out, my hand trembling as it hovers above the stone. The symbols on its surface shift and move, rearranging themselves as if alive. The moment my fingers make contact, a shock of cold runs through me, and the world shifts. I'm not in the clearing anymore. I'm somewhere else, somewhere darker. The stone is still in my hand, but the forest has vanished. The ground beneath me is soft like dirt, but it's wrong. It feels wrong. I look around, but there's nothing to see. Just darkness, thick and suffocating, pressing in on all sides. You've come. The voice is a low murmur, like the rumble of thunder before a storm. It's not coming from anywhere in particular, but I hear it in my head, in my bones, in the very air around me. You've come to feed me. The hunger surges, overwhelming, filling every corner of my mind. It's not just my hunger anymore. It's its hunger, the thing that waits in the darkness, the thing that has always waited. I can feel it, its presence looming just beyond my sight, its eyes burning into me, its hunger gnawing at the edges of my thoughts. You are mine now. The ground beneath me trembles, and I feel a cold, clammy sensation wrapping around my legs, pulling me down. I try to pull away, but it's useless. The darkness has me now. It's taking me, pulling me deeper into its cold embrace. I can't see anything, but I can feel it, its presence, its hunger, growing stronger with each passing second. I scream, but the sound is swallowed by the dark, absorbed into the endless void. There's no escape. There's no way out. You are the hunger now. The words echo in my mind, and I know they are true. The forest, the stone, the symbols, they were all just the beginning. I've crossed a threshold now, and there is no going back. I am the hunger. I am the forest. I am the endless, gnawing desire that has been waiting, lurking for something, someone to come. And now I have come. I feel it, the thing that waits in the dark. It is here with me, its presence all around me, pressing in on me from all sides. I don't need to see it. I can feel it. Its hunger is mine now. Its desire is mine, and it will never stop. I will never stop. The darkness is consuming me, and I welcome it. The darkness tightens its grip, suffocating, pulling me deeper into its endless void. I can't see, can't hear anything but the pounding of my own heart, the rush of blood in my ears. The hunger, that gnawing, insatiable need, has become all that I am. It thrums beneath my skin, coursing through my veins like fire, like poison. It is me. The thing that waits in the dark is no longer distant. It's not just a presence anymore. It is me. We are one. The hunger is endless, but it's not just mine. It's the forests, the stones, the earths, the skies. It's the hunger of everything that has ever lived, that has ever been consumed. I am the culmination of all of it. I try to scream, but the sound is swallowed by the void, just as the last remnants of who I was are swallowed by the darkness. My memories flicker, distant and fleeting, like dying embers. I remember the sky, the stars, the faces of those who once walked beside me, but it's all slipping away, fading into the black. I'm no one now. The hunger calls louder, more insistent. It demands. It needs. I move, but I don't know how. The air is thick with it, an oppressive weight that presses against me, suffocating me. My body moves on its own, limbs jerking and twitching, as if controlled by something beyond me. The hunger guides me, pulls me forward, deeper into the void. There is no direction, no path, just the dark, endless expanse. And then I feel it, a flicker of light. It's distant at first, a tiny spark in the vast blackness. But it grows, slowly, steadily, until it consumes everything around me. The light is blinding, but I can't look away. It's calling me, pulling me toward it. The hunger surges in me, demanding that I reach it, that I feed it. I stumble forward, my body moving faster, quicker, as the light grows brighter, more intense. It's all I can see now. The darkness has faded, replaced by this blinding, radiant light that fills every corner of my mind. The hunger is unbearable now, a searing fire in my chest, my throat, my very soul. The light is here. I reach out, my hands trembling, my body shaking with the weight of the hunger. I know what it wants. I know what it needs. It needs me. It needs all of me, and I will give it. I will give it everything. The light envelopes me, and in that moment, I realized that it was never a light at all. It was the thing that waits, the thing that has always waited. It has become the light. It has become everything. I am part of it now. I have always been part of it. The hunger, the void, the forest, the stone. It was all just the beginning, a slow unraveling of what was always meant to be. And now, the hunger is complete. The forest will never stop. I will never stop. And the darkness will always wait. The light fades, but I am not alone. The hunger has consumed me, but it has not swallowed me whole. I am still here, no longer me, but something else. Something that is part of everything. The forest, the stone, the dark, the hunger. They are all inside me now, wrapped around my soul like a shroud. The boundaries between who I was and what I have become are gone, erased, as if they never existed. I am part of the forest now. I can feel it, pulsing beneath the surface of my thoughts, in the rhythm of my breath, in the beating of my heart. The trees, the roots, the soil, they all hum with a quiet, endless energy, a life that is not life, but something else, something older. Something that has always been. It has been waiting, watching until I came. The air is thick with it. The hunger is everywhere, inside me and around me, in every crack and crevice of this place. I can feel it in the ground beneath me, in the wind that brushes against my skin, in the very air I breathe. It is the pulse of the earth itself, the heartbeat of something vast, something that has always been here, always been waiting. And now, it is awake. I walk. No, I move through the forest, my limbs jerking and twitching as if controlled by something beyond my will. The hunger is not just mine anymore. It is the hunger of the trees, of the earth, of the sky. It is the hunger of the stars. It is the hunger of everything that has ever lived, that has ever been consumed. And it is mine. I pass through the trees, the gnarled roots twisting and shifting beneath my feet, as if the forest itself is alive, aware of my presence. I can hear the whispers again, low and guttural, seeping through the leaves, the branches, the very air. The voices are not human, not even animal. They're something older, something primal. They are the voices of the forest, the voices of the hunger, calling to me, guiding me. It is time. The words echo in my mind like a chant, a prayer, a command. I don't know where I am going, but I know I must go. The hunger pulls me forward, deeper into the heart of the forest, deeper into the void that has been waiting for me. The symbols are here again, carved into the trees, painted on the ground, glowing faintly in the dim light. They pulse with a rhythm, a pattern, like a heartbeat, like a promise. They are the markers, the guideposts, the map to where I must go. They are the path, the way to the end. And then I see it, the clearing. It is vast, empty, just like the one before, but this time, it is different. There is no stone at the center. There is no light. There is only darkness, an endless expanse that stretches out before me. swallowing everything in its wake. The hunger surges within me, and I feel it, the thing that waits, the thing that has always waited, standing just beyond the edge of the void. Come. The voice is not a whisper anymore. It is a command, loud and clear, reverberating through the forest, through the very air I breathe. I step forward, my body moving against my will, my legs carrying me toward the center of the clearing, toward the void. The hunger is unbearable now. It is all I am. It is all that exists. I am part of it. It is part of me. We are one. And as I step into the void, I realize that it is not the end. It is the beginning of something that has been waiting, watching for an eternity. The beginning of a hunger that will never be sated. The beginning of something that will consume everything. I am not alone. The forest is with me. The hunger is with me. And we will never stop. The void swallows me whole, but I do not fall. I float, suspended in a space where nothing exists. No sound, no air, no light, no time. It is the same darkness I felt before. Only now, it feels like it has been me. It wraps around me like a second skin, familiar and suffocating. There is no weight here, no gravity. I am weightless, but I am not free. I try to move to find some sense of direction, but my body feels alien, like it no longer belongs to me. My hands, my feet, my very thoughts, they are not mine. They are part of the hunger, part of the forest, part of the thing that waits. The hunger pulses inside me, louder now, a rhythmic thrum that beats in time with my heart. It is a constant, a presence that fills every part of me, and yet it is not enough. It is never enough. It is endless, boundless, consuming. I am drowning in it, and then the whispers return. They are no longer just whispers. They are voices, clear and sharp, echoing in the void. They are the voices of the forest, the voices of the thing that waits. They are calling to me, guiding me, pulling me deeper into the darkness. You are one of us now. The words are not comforting. They are a command, a truth that I cannot deny. I am one of them. I have always been one of them. I was never meant to be human. I was always meant to be part of this, part of the hunger, part of the forest, part of the void. You are the last. The words send a shiver through me, though I do not know why. I do not understand them, but I feel them in my bones, deep in the marrow. I am the last. The last of what? The last of who? You will feed. The hunger surges within me, violent and insatiable. It is not my hunger anymore. It is the hunger of the forest, the hunger of the earth, the hunger of everything that has ever lived, that has ever been consumed. And it is mine to carry. It is mine to spread. I can feel it now, something stirring in the dark, something watching. It is the thing that waits, the thing that has always waited. Its presence is palpable, a weight in the air, pressing against me, suffocating me. It is here, in the void, and it is waiting for me. I try to scream, but there is no sound. My mouth moves, but the scream is swallowed by the darkness. I am alone, but I am not. The forest is here, the hunger is here, and the thing that waits is here. I am no longer a person. I am no longer human. I am part of something older, something eternal. I am part of the forest, part of the hunger, part of the void, and I will never stop. I will never stop feeding. I will never stop hunting. I will never stop waiting, and the forest will never stop either. The hunger hums through me, an incessant vibration that thrums in every cell of my being. It is no longer just an urge. It is a truth, a force that has always existed, coiled beneath the surface of the world, waiting for a vessel to carry it. And now, that vessel is me. I can feel the forest, its roots stretching out into the very core of the planet, reaching into the deep, dark places where even light dare not venture. It is ancient, its power older than time, older than human memory. I am connected to it now, bound to it in ways I cannot comprehend. The hunger is a part of me, but so is the forest. So is the void. They are all one. I move through the dark, though I do not know where I am going. There is no sense of direction here, no path to follow. The void has no edges, no boundaries. It is a place that exists beyond time, beyond space. A place where everything and nothing coexist. And yet, I know what I must do. I must feed. I must bring them here. The thought is a command, one that echoes in my mind like a chant, a mantra. The hunger surges again, more intense than before, and I feel myself being pulled, dragged forward by an unseen force. I do not fight it. I cannot. The hunger is too strong, and the forest, the void, it knows what I am. I feel the presence of the thing that waits, closer now, looming just beyond my perception. It is not a shape, not a form, but a presence, a force. It watches me, its eyes burning with an ancient, insatiable need. It is patient. It has waited for so long, and now it will finally be satisfied. The whispers return, louder now, filling my mind with their terrible words. You will bring them. They will feed the hunger. They will be part of us. I do not know who they are, but I feel the weight of the words, the certainty of them. The hunger is not just mine anymore. It is the forest's. It is the void's. It is the thing that waits, and it will never stop. I feel the pull again, stronger this time. It is as if the very fabric of the void is stretching, bending, pulling me towards something. I do not resist. I cannot. I have become a part of it now. I see them finally, the figures moving through the darkness, stumbling blindly, lost. They are human, just like I was, but they do not see me. They do not feel the hunger, the presence that watches them. They do not know what is coming. I step forward, my movements jerky, unnatural. I feel the hunger swell inside me, and I know what I must do. I must bring them into the forest. I must lead them to the clearing, to the void, to the thing that waits. They will feed. They will become part of it. I reach out, my hand trembling as I touch one of them. The instant my fingers make contact, I feel it, the pull. It is like a tidal wave, a crushing force that drags them toward me, toward the forest, toward the void. They struggle, but they cannot escape. The hunger is too strong. And then, just like that, they are with me. All of them. The hunger surges, a wave of satisfaction that threatens to overwhelm me. It is not enough. It will never be enough. But for now, it is enough. The forest grows silent. The void grows still. The thing that waits is patient, its hunger sated for now. And as I stand there, surrounded by the remains of the humans I once was, I realize the truth. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. The forest will never stop. The hunger will never stop. And the thing that waits will never stop. And neither will I. The silence stretches, a heavy, oppressive thing that presses down on me from all sides. The forest, once a cacophony of life and noise, is now eerily still, as if holding its breath. The air is thick with something ancient, something that has been waiting, not just for me, but for all of us. The hunger lingers in the air, palpable and unyielding, its presence as suffocating as the very ground beneath my feet. I stand among them now, their bodies, cold and unmoving, scattered around me like broken dolls. Their faces are frozen in expressions of terror, but I feel no remorse. There is no room for remorse here, not in this place, not with the hunger clawing at my insides. I am no longer human. I am part of something far older, far darker than anything I could have imagined. And yet I still feel it, the pull. It is a quiet thing, a whisper in the back of my mind, urging me forward. It beckons me deeper into the forest, into the heart of the void, where the thing that waits watches with its ember eyes, always watching. I cannot resist it. I do not want to resist it. I have become one with it, and it has become one with me. I move, though I do not know why. I am not walking. I am being drawn, pulled by an invisible thread that tugs at my very soul. The ground beneath me shifts, undulates, as if alive. The trees seem to bend toward me, their gnarled branches reaching out, their shadows stretching long across the forest floor. They are not trees anymore. They are part of the hunger, part of the thing that waits. The further I go, the more the world warps around me. The sky above is a sickly green, a hue that should not exist in nature, and the stars are black holes, empty and devouring. The air is thick with the scent of decay, of something long dead, something that has been buried for eons. And beneath it all, I can hear it, the hum of the hunger, deep in the earth, in the trees, in the very fabric of the world itself. I reach the clearing. It is not a clearing, not in the way I once understood it. It is a space where the very air feels wrong, as if reality itself is thinner here, stretched too thin to hold the weight of what lies beyond. The symbols are everywhere, etched into the ground, carved into the trees, painted in the sky. They pulse with a sickly light, a light that feels like it is burning through me, seeping into my skin, into my bones. And there at the center of it all is the thing that waits. It is not a thing of flesh, not in the way I thought. It is something older, something beyond comprehension. Its form shifts and ripples, like smoke in the wind, like a shadow that cannot be pinned down. But its eyes, they are real. They are solid. They are ember eyes, burning with an insatiable hunger. They are the eyes of the forest, the eyes of the void, the eyes of the thing that has been waiting. It speaks without words, its presence filling my mind, drowning out everything else. I can feel its thoughts, its desires, its endless need. It is not a being that understands love or fear. It only understands hunger, and it has waited so long. You have done well, it whispers, though the words are not words at all. They are thoughts, sensations, feelings that invade my mind, wrapping around my consciousness like a vice. Now, you will feed. The hunger surges again, and this time, I feel it in every fiber of my being. It is not my own. It is the hunger of the forest, the hunger of the void, the hunger of the thing that waits. It is a hunger that cannot be sated, a hunger that stretches out across time and space, devouring everything in its path. And I am its vessel. I do not know what happens next. I do not know if I move or if I am moved, but the thing that waits is there, its ember eyes burning with a terrible hunger, and I know what I must do. I must feed. I must bring more. The hunger will never stop. The forest will never stop. The thing that waits will never stop, and neither will I. The void is patient. It has always been patient, and it will wait for as long as it takes. Because it knows. It knows that the hunger will never be enough. Not until it has consumed everything. The hunger claws at me, a gnawing ache deep within my chest. It is not a physical sensation anymore, but a truth that settles in my bones, in my very soul. The thing that waits watches, its ember eyes glowing brighter with each passing second, each pulse of the hunger. It is not content with what has been fed to it. It will never be content. It needs more. It needs everything. I stand at the edge of the clearing, the symbols swirling around me, shifting, twisting in ways that should be impossible. They move like living things, like creatures that have crawled from the depths of some forgotten nightmare. The ground beneath my feet trembles, as if the earth itself is breathing, inhaling the essence of the void, of the hunger, of the thing that waits. The air is thick, heavy with the weight of 1,000 unspoken promises, 1,000 unsatisfied needs. The thing that waits, that feasts, is not satisfied with just this place, just this world. It wants more. It wants to stretch beyond the forest, beyond the void, to places that have not yet been touched by its insatiable hunger. And I am its servant. I do not question it. I cannot. The hunger is a part of me now, and it is the only thing that matters. The only thing that has ever mattered. The thing that waits knows this, and it knows that I will do its bidding, no matter the cost. I turn, my body moving without thought, without will. The hunger moves me, guides me, pulls me toward the edge of the forest. The trees seem to lean in, as if eager to witness what is about to happen. The shadows stretch longer, darker, as if the forest itself is holding its breath, waiting for the next step. I reach the boundary of the forest, where the trees thin out, where the edge of the world begins to blur into something else. There is no path, no road, no sign of civilization. Just the endless stretch of barren land. the desolation that lies beyond the forest. The wind howls, a low, mournful sound that carries the whispers of the hunger, of the void, of the thing that waits. And then I hear it, a distant sound, a car, a vehicle moving across the barren landscape, its engine a faint hum on the wind. My heart stutters, a sharp pang of recognition. Humans, they are coming. They do not know what awaits them. They do not know what I have become. The hunger surges within me, an overwhelming wave that threatens to drown me. The thing that waits is eager, its presence pressing against my mind, its thoughts filling the empty spaces in my consciousness. It is calling them, drawing them in just as it drew me in. The hunger will be fed again. I stand there at the edge of the forest, watching as the headlights of the vehicle grow brighter, closer. The hum of the engine becomes louder, more distinct, and I know that it is almost time. The thing that waits is patient, but it is not merciful. It will consume them, just as it consumed me. The vehicle draws closer, and I step forward, my feet moving without thought, without hesitation. The hunger drives me, compels me. The thing that waits is close now, its ember eyes burning in the depths of my mind, its presence a weight I cannot escape. The vehicle stops, the engine cutting off with a sudden, eerie silence. The door opens, and a figure steps out. It is a man, his face pale in the light of the headlights. He looks around, confusion crossing his features as he takes in the strange, unnerving landscape. He does not know what is coming. He does not know what I have become. The hunger rises in me, a wave that crashes against my chest, and I take a step forward. My mouth opens, but no words come. There is no need for words. The hunger speaks for me now. The man freezes, his eyes locking onto mine. I can see the flicker of recognition in his gaze, the brief moment of understanding. He knows something is wrong. He knows something is coming. But it is too late. The ground shifts beneath his feet, the symbols in the earth glowing with an eerie light. The trees close in around him, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands, and the air grows thick, suffocating. The hunger fills the space between us, a palpable force that pulls at his very soul. He screams, but it is a scream that fades quickly, swallowed by the silence of the forest. The hunger devours him, just as it devoured the others. The thing that waits is satisfied for now, but I can feel its hunger stirring again, deep in the pit of my stomach. It will never stop. I stand there, watching as the forest settles back into its unnatural stillness. The vehicle is gone, the man is gone, and all that remains is the emptiness. The hunger is quiet now, but I know it will return. It always returns, and so I wait. I wait for the next one, the next victim, the next soul to feed the hunger. Because the forest will never stop, the hunger will never stop, and the thing that waits will never stop, and neither will I. The forest breathes around me, a slow, deliberate pulse that matches the rhythm of my own heart. The hunger, still coiled tight within me, hums faintly, as if it knows what comes next. It is patient, and that is the most terrifying part. It is not a force of immediate need, but one of inevitable desire, an unyielding force that waits until it is time to feed again. I stand motionless, the air thick with the weight of what I've just done. The man's scream still echoes in my mind, but it is fading, a distant memory that I will carry with me, just like all the others. His face is terror gone. The hunger doesn't care about the faces or the names. It cares only about the essence of life, the pure, untainted energy that it devours. And I, now its vessel, will never be free of it. I feel it now, the pull of the symbols. They're not just on the ground or carved into the trees. They are within me. They've marked me, transformed me. The patterns have become a part of my skin, woven into the very fabric of my being. I can feel their presence at the back of my mind, urging me onward, pulling me deeper into the woods. But there's something new now, something different. The hunger, though powerful, is not all-consuming anymore. There's a whisper, a low, persistent voice, one that I had not heard before. It's faint, barely perceptible, but it's there. It calls to me not with the insatiable longing of the hunger, but with something far darker. Come closer. I resist, but the whisper grows louder. It is not my own voice. It is a presence, an entity far older than the hunger itself. The thing that waits is not alone. I feel a tremor in the ground beneath my feet, and the trees shift, their branches bending and creaking as if they too are listening. The wind picks up, carrying with it a chill that sinks deep into my bones, and the symbols on the ground flare to life, glowing brighter than before. They pulse in time with the whispers, and I realize, with a sickening clarity, that they are no longer guiding me. They are trapping me. I turn, my body moving without my command, drawn by the pull of the symbols, the whisper, the hunger. The forest is no longer just a place. It is alive, and it is watching me, waiting for something. Something I cannot yet understand. I walk, my feet moving through the underbrush, my breath shallow, my heart racing. The whisper grows louder, more insistent, and I feel its cold fingers wrap around my mind. Come closer. The clearing ahead is bathed in an unnatural light, an eerie glow that seeps through the trees, casting long shadows on the ground. The air is thick with the scent of decay, of something ancient and rotting. The symbols on the trees here are different, more intricate, more elaborate. They pulse with an energy that feels wrong, unnatural, as though they are alive. And then I see it, a figure standing in the center of the clearing. It is tall, impossibly tall, with limbs that seem to stretch and twist in ways that defy nature. Its face is a blur of shadow, its features indistinct, but I can feel its eyes. I can feel them, burning into me, probing the depths of my soul. It is not the hunger. It is not the thing that waits. It is something older, something more powerful, something that has been here long before the forest, before the symbols, before me. It speaks, though its voice does not pass through my ears. It enters my mind, a cold, alien presence that chills me to the core. You are the vessel. The hunger is yours to feed, but it is not yours to control. I try to move, to run, but my legs betray me. I am rooted to the spot, my body a puppet of the thing that waits, of the hunger, of the forest itself. The figure steps forward, its limbs creaking like the branches of the trees, and I feel its cold presence pressing against my chest. You have fed it, you have given it what it wanted, but it is not enough. The ground beneath me shifts, and I feel the earth crack open, a deep, yawning chasm that seems to stretch into infinity. From within it, I hear a low, guttural sound, like the groan of some ancient beast awakening from a long slumber. The hunger is a tool, a means to an end. You have only begun to understand. The symbols on the trees flare brighter, their light blinding, and I feel the air grow thick, heavy with a presence that suffocates. The figure looms over me, its shadow swallowing the light, and I know, with a sickening certainty, that I have crossed a line I cannot uncross. The hunger, the thing that waits, is not the end. It is only the beginning. Come closer. The figure whispers again, its voice now a symphony of voices, all speaking in unison. You have fed. Now you will become. The ground trembles beneath me, and I feel the pull, the tug of the chasm. It is calling me, pulling me toward it, toward the darkness that lies beyond. The hunger stirs within me, restless, eager, but I can feel something else now, something deeper. The thing that waits is not a singular entity. It is a force, a presence, a realm that stretches far beyond the forest, beyond the stars. And I am its vessel. I close my eyes, but the light does not fade. The whispers do not stop, and I know that no matter how far I run, no matter how much I try to escape, the forest will always be with me. Because it is not the forest that is watching. It is me. The ground beneath me begins to shift again. But this time, it's not just the earth that trembles. The trees groan, their limbs twisting and stretching, as though they too are awakening. The forest is no longer a place of shadows and quiet whispers. It is a living thing, a vast, breathing organism that has absorbed me into its heart. Every step I take feels like I am sinking deeper into its pulse, its rhythm, and I realize with a sickening certainty that I have become part of it. The figure, no, it's not just one figure anymore, splits into countless shapes, each one shifting and contorting in impossible ways. They are reflections of the hunger, distorted and twisted by the darkness that flows through them. Their faces are blank, featureless masks, but their eyes, those ember eyes, burn through me like hot coals, searing my very soul. They are not looking at me. They are looking through me. You are not alone, the voice hums, and it is not just in my mind anymore. It is in the air, vibrating through the trees, the ground, my very bones. You are one of many now. The forest is yours, and you are the forest's. I try to scream, but my voice is swallowed by the thick air. My body feels like it is no longer my own. The hunger pulses inside me, but it is no longer a singular force. It has become me, and I have become it. The boundaries between us are dissolving, and I am both the hunter and the hunted, the prey and the predator. There is no escape. The ground beneath me cracks open wider, and I am pulled toward the chasm, the abyss that calls to me like an old, familiar friend. The whispers grow louder, filling my ears, my mind, my heart. Come closer. Come home. The voices speak in unison, and I know now that they are not just the figures. They are the forest itself. They are the hunger. I stumble forward, my legs moving of their own accord, drawn to the darkness below. The air is thick with the scent of decay, of rot, of something ancient and foul. The trees bend toward me, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands, brushing against my skin with a cold that sinks deep into my marrow. And then I see it. The clearing is no longer just a place. It is a gateway, a rift in the very fabric of reality. The symbols on the ground glow brighter, their intricate designs shifting and warping, becoming something else, something older, something more primal. The air crackles with energy, and I can feel the weight of it pressing down on me, suffocating me, until I am nothing more than a vessel for the force that stirs beneath the surface. The chasm yawns wider, and I see what lies within it. It is not just darkness. It is a vast, endless expanse, a void that stretches beyond time and space. And in that void, I see them, the creatures that wait, the ones that have been calling me all along. They are not human, not even animal. They are something beyond comprehension, vast and ancient, their forms shifting and changing with every glance. They are the forest, the hunger, the darkness. They are everything, and I am nothing. I feel the pull now, stronger than ever, as the hunger inside me rises to meet them. I am no longer a person. I am a part of the forest, a part of the void. I am them, and they are me. The boundaries are gone. There is no longer any distinction between the living and the dead, the hunter and the prey. The figures, those twisted reflections of the hunger, surround me, their eyes burning into me, their voices echoing in my mind. You are the vessel. You are the key. You are the one who will bring them through. And then I understand, the hunger was never just about feeding. It was never just about survival. It was a ritual, a means to an end. The symbols, the whispers, the figures, they were all leading me here, to this moment, to this place where the veil between worlds is thin. And now, I am the one who will tear it open. I am the one who will bring them into this world. I step forward, my feet sinking into the earth, my body drawn inexorably toward the chasm. The hunger inside me flares, a raging fire that consumes everything in its path. The figures reach for me, their cold fingers brushing against my skin, and I know that this is it. This is the end, but it is also the beginning. The chasm opens wide, and I fall. I fall into the darkness, into the void that calls to me. The hunger is with me, in me, around me. The forest is no longer just a place. It is a realm, a living, breathing entity that stretches across the stars, across dimensions. And I am its chosen. The voices, the whispers, they are all around me now. Welcome home. I tumble through the darkness, weightless, as though the very laws of gravity have ceased to exist. The air is thick with the scent of something ancient, something old beyond understanding. There is no sound here, no light, just the oppressive weight of a presence that presses against me from all sides. The hunger pulses through me deeper now, as if it is no longer a part of me, but the very essence of who I am. The chasm swallows me whole, and yet I do not fall. I am suspended in this void, floating in the endless black. My body is no longer my own, but something else, something twisted, something wrong. The hunger, it takes root in my soul, consuming all that I once was. And then the silence is shattered. A sound breaks through the void, a deep, resonating hum, like the vibration of 1,000 strings pulled taut. It is both alien and familiar, a sound that feels like it is inside me, crawling through my veins, weaving through my thoughts. The hunger stirs, its presence stronger now, demanding to be fed. I blink, or at least I think I do, but there is no difference between the darkness and my own closed eyes. There is no sense of time, no sense of place, only the void and the hunger. And then the figures appear again. They are not just around me, not just beside me, they are within me. Their eyes, those ember eyes, burn from the depths of my own soul, flickering like dying stars. They are not reflections of what I once was. They are the hunger itself, and I am no longer a vessel. I am a part of them, woven into the very fabric of this place. You are the key, they whisper, their voices 1,000 tongues speaking as one. You have opened the way. You have brought us through. The ground beneath me shifts, and I realize with a sickening clarity that there is no ground. There is no sky. There is only the endless, suffocating dark. The hunger pulses through me again, stronger now, as if it is no longer something I can control. It is me, and I am it. The figures move, their shapes twisting and contorting in impossible ways. They are not bound by the laws of reality. They are beyond it. They are the forest, the void, the darkness. They are everything. You will feed us, they say, and I feel the weight of their words pressing against me, pulling me down into the abyss. You will bring us to the world above. You will be the one to open the way for us to enter. I understand now. I'm not just the key. I am the doorway. The ritual was never about sacrifice or survival. It was about bringing them through, about tearing open the veil between worlds and letting them spill into the light. I was never meant to escape. I was meant to open the door for them. I try to scream, but my voice is swallowed by the darkness. There is no escape. There is only the hunger. There is only the void. The figures, they reach for me, their hands cold and twisted, their fingers brushing against my skin like tendrils of ice. They are me, and I am them. There is no difference anymore. And then I feel it. The hunger is no longer just a presence. It is a force, a vast, insatiable thing that spreads out from me, filling the void, consuming everything in its path. It is pulling at the very fabric of reality, tearing at the seams of existence. I am not just the doorway anymore. I am the catalyst. The void begins to crack, and I hear the sound again, the hum, the vibration louder now, growing stronger. The figures, we begin to shift, to change, to merge. The hunger is no longer a thing outside of me. It is inside me, filling every part of my being, every thought, every breath. It is me. And then the veil rips, the void splits open, and I am pulled through it into the world above. The light is blinding. It sears my eyes, and I can feel it burning through my skin, my very bones. I am no longer in the void. I am no longer in the darkness. I am here, in the world above, but I am not alone. The hunger is with me. The figures are with me. We are here. The forest is no longer just a place. It is a living, breathing organism, a realm that stretches across the stars, across dimensions. And now, it is here. It is part of this world. The hunger has come, and it will never leave. I am no longer the person I once was. I am the forest. I am the void. I am the hunger, and I will never stop. The world above is not what I remember. The sky, once so clear and vast, now hangs heavy, the color of a bruised sunset, swirling with unnatural hues that shift and pulse. The air tastes different, thick with a strange metallic tang, as though it too has been altered by the hunger. The ground beneath my feet is soft, yielding, like the earth itself is alive, breathing, pulsing with a rhythm that matches the thrum in my chest. I stand in the middle of a clearing, the symbols now etched into the very fabric of the world around me. They are no longer just marks on trees or paper. They are alive, their jagged edges glowing faintly, shifting, ever-changing, as if they are waiting for something. Waiting for me. The forest stretches endlessly in every direction, its twisted trees and gnarled roots reaching toward the sky like skeletal hands. But they are not empty. No, they are filled with shapes, figures, too many to count. Lurking in the shadows, their ember eyes glowing faintly in the distance. They are watching me, waiting. I try to move, but my body is heavy, unwilling. I am no longer in control of it. Not fully. The hunger pulses within me, a gnawing, insistent presence that has taken root deep inside my soul. It is no longer a separate entity. It is me, and it is demanding to be fed. The ground trembles beneath me, a low vibration that resonates in my bones. I hear a whisper, soft at first, but growing louder, until it is all I can hear. The figures in the trees begin to move, their limbs shifting in unnatural ways, their eyes never leaving me. Feed us. The words are not spoken aloud. They are inside me, in my mind, in my very essence. They are the hunger, and they are demanding. They are me. I try to resist, but the pull is overwhelming. The hunger is a part of me now, and it will not be ignored. I stumble forward, my legs moving of their own accord, guided by the insatiable need that courses through my veins. The symbols on the ground flare to life as I step onto them, their edges glowing brighter, their patterns shifting, drawing me in. The trees close in around me, their branches twisting and contorting, reaching for me like the hands of the dead. The figures in the shadows begin to emerge, their shapes becoming clearer. They are not human. They are something older, something far more ancient. Their bodies are twisted and malformed, their skin stretched tight over bones that seem too long, too thin. Their eyes, those ember eyes, burn with an intensity that makes my skin crawl. They are waiting for me to lead them, waiting for me to open the way. The hunger in me grows, its claws sinking deeper into my mind, into my very soul. I feel it, we reaching out, calling to the figures, drawing them in. The air around me thickens, the temperature rising as the darkness shifts and warps, bending to our will. The veil between worlds is thin here, and with every breath, I can feel it tearing. We are one now, the hunger whispers. You will feed us. You will bring us to them. The figures move closer, their eyes fixed on me, their mouths stretching into grotesque, inhuman smiles. They are hungry too. They are waiting, but they are not the only ones. The ground beneath my feet cracks, splitting open like the mouth of a beast. The symbols glow brighter, their edges searing the air, burning through the fabric of reality. The hunger is spreading, seeping into the world around me, changing it, twisting it into something unrecognizable. I'm no longer just the doorway. I am the catalyst. The ritual has begun, and there is no stopping it now. The hunger is spreading, and I am the one who will feed it. The figures reach out for me, their hands cold and clammy, their fingers curling around my skin like tendrils. The ground trembles again, and I feel the pull of something far darker, far older, deep within the earth. It is calling to me, calling to us, and I am the one who will answer. The veil between worlds rips open completely, and I step forward into the void, leaving the world behind. And in that moment, I understand. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. The void is endless, a swirling abyss of darkness that stretches beyond the limits of comprehension. The air is thick with the stench of decay, a fetid, choking smell that claws at my throat. My feet no longer touch the ground, yet I feel the pull of gravity, of something, dragging me downward, deeper into the nothingness. I can hear them now, the whispers. They're louder, clearer, and they aren't just in my head anymore. They echo around me, filling the space, reverberating off the unseen walls of this place. The figures, the ones with the ember eyes, are with me. I can feel their presence pressing in from all sides, their cold, clammy fingers brushing against my skin, their eyes boring into me. You are the key, they whisper, their voices a chorus of rasping breaths. You will open the way for us. You will bring us to them. I try to speak, to scream, but no sound escapes my lips. My body is frozen, trapped in this endless expanse of darkness, the hunger inside me growing with every passing second. It gnaws at my insides, a gnawing, relentless force that refuses to be ignored. I can feel it. The hunger is no longer a part of me. It is me, and it is spreading, expanding, reaching out to claim everything in its path. The darkness around me begins to shift, to twist and churn. The void is no longer empty. There are shapes moving within it, shadows that flicker in and out of existence, monstrous forms that are only half seen, like half-remembered nightmares. I can hear their whispers too, the low, guttural murmurs that rise from the depths of the abyss. Feed us. I feel the ground beneath me shift again, and I know that I am being pulled toward something, toward them, toward the source of the hunger. The figures are closer now, their forms growing clearer in the swirling darkness. Their eyes burn with an unholy fire, and their mouths stretch wide, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth. They are waiting for me to lead them. I try to move, but my limbs feel heavy, as if they no longer belong to me. The hunger is in control now. It is the one pulling the strings, the one guiding me forward. I am nothing more than a vessel, a conduit for something far older, far more powerful than I can comprehend. The darkness parts, revealing a vast, cavernous space, a chamber deep within the void. The walls are slick with a dark, viscous substance that pulses and throbs, as though the very walls are alive. The air is thick with the scent of something ancient, something wrong. I can feel the presence of someone, watching me from the shadows, its eyes burning with a hunger that matches my own. And then I see it. At the center of the chamber stands a massive altar, carved from stone as black as the void itself. The symbols, those same symbols that have haunted me from the moment I set foot in this place, are etched into the surface, glowing faintly with an eerie light. They pulse in time with the beat of my heart, drawing me in, urging me closer. The figures move around me, their ember eyes fixed on the altar. They are waiting for me to do what must be done. I feel the hunger surge within me, its claws sinking deeper into my soul. It is no longer just a part of me. It is everything I am. It is all that I am, and it is demanding that I feed it. I step forward, my feet moving of their own accord, drawn toward the altar. The figures follow, their presence a suffocating weight around me. I reach the altar, my hands trembling as I place them on its cold surface. The symbols on the stone glow brighter, their light searing into my vision, burning into my mind. And then, with a sudden, violent force, I understand. This is the heart of the hunger. This is the source. The altar is not just a place of worship. It is a gateway, a doorway to something far darker, far older than the world I once knew. And we are the key. The hunger inside me surges, its power filling every inch of my being. I feel the world around me crack, the veil between realities tearing apart, and I know that the ritual is complete. The figures around me begin to chant, their voices rising in a twisted, guttural hymn. The darkness deepens, the shadows stretching and warping, folding in on themselves. The air grows thick with the weight of the ritual, the power of the hunger flowing freely, unrestrained. And then the ground shakes, the altar cracks, splitting open like the mouth of a beast. From within it, a presence stirs, a shape, a thing, too vast to comprehend, rising from the depths of the abyss. It is ancient, it is hungry, and it is free. The hunger has been unleashed, and I am no longer its vessel. I am its servant. The world around me crumbles, the sky darkening as the hunger spreads, devouring everything in its path. The figures, my family, my brothers and sisters, stand in formation, their ember eyes fixed on the horizon, waiting for the next phase of the ritual to begin. The hunger is here, and it will not stop until it has claimed everything. It is only the beginning. The darkness presses in, thick and suffocating, as the hunger spreads like wildfire. The air vibrates with its power, an unsettling hum that echoes in my bones. The world around me is unraveling, the fabric of reality itself coming undone. The ground beneath my feet trembles as the ancient presence stirs, its awakening sending ripples through the very essence of existence. I stand at the altar, my body no longer my own, my mind lost to the hunger. The figures that once surrounded me now move in perfect synchrony, their ember eyes glowing brighter with each passing moment. They are no longer just shadows in the dark. They are part of it, extensions of the hunger itself. They chant in a language that twists the air, their voices rising in a chorus of dread and longing. I try to move, to fight back, but I can't. The hunger has taken root too deeply within me. It coils around my thoughts, binding me, controlling me. I feel it in my chest, a gnawing, insatiable force that refuses to be ignored. It is me. It is everything I am now. The sky above has turned black, the stars swallowed by the void. The earth groans, its surface cracking, as if the very planet is being consumed from within. The air is thick with the stench of rot, the smell of decay, as though the world is already dying. And yet, the hunger is not satisfied. It demands more. It needs more. The figures move forward, their steps deliberate, each one drawn toward the epicenter of the ritual. I can see them now, their faces twisted and contorted, their eyes wide with hunger. They are not human anymore. They are vessels, like me, bound to the hunger, bound to this place of darkness. And together, we will bring it into the world. The altar cracks further, its surface splitting open like the jaws of a beast. A dark mist pours from within, swirling around us, wrapping us in its cold embrace. I can feel the presence now, its weight pressing down on me, suffocating me. It is here. It is close. The figures kneel before the altar, their hands raised in reverence. They are offering themselves, their souls, to the hunger. And I am no different. I can feel the pull, the irresistible force drawing me forward. My hands move of their own accord, reaching toward the altar, toward the darkness that lies within. And then I hear it, a voice, deep and resonant, like the rumble of distant thunder. It is not a voice in my head, but one that comes from everywhere, from the very air itself. It speaks in a language I cannot understand, its words a twisted melody that sends shivers down my spine. It is time. The altar shudders, its cracks widening, and I feel something stir within me. The hunger. It is rising, surging, and I am the conduit. I am the bridge between worlds, the key that will unlock the floodgates. The darkness is no longer just a place. It is here. It is in me. It is in all of us. The figures stand, their eyes fixed on the altar, their mouths open in silent screams. The ground trembles again, harder this time, as the very fabric of reality begins to tear. The air grows colder, the darkness pressing in from all sides, as if the void itself is reaching out, pulling everything into its maw. And then the world shifts. The mist swirls violently, coalescing into a shape, an impossibly large, incomprehensible form that looms over us. It is not a creature, not a being, but something other, something beyond understanding. Its presence is overwhelming, its very essence a distortion of reality. I feel it in my chest, in my bones, in my soul. It is hunger. It is the hunger. The ground beneath us cracks wide open, and I am falling. Falling into the abyss, into the darkness, into the void. The hunger swallows everything, devouring the earth, the sky, the stars. It is insatiable, all-consuming, and there is no escape. I can hear the screams now, the cries of those who have fallen before me, those who were once human but are now nothing more than vessels for the hunger. Their voices are lost in the roar of the void, their pleas for mercy drowned by the relentless pull of the darkness. And then I feel it, a sharp, searing pain, a coldness that rips through me, tearing at my very soul. The hunger is inside me, deep inside me, and it is demanding more. It is taking me, claiming me, and there is nothing I can do to stop it. I open my mouth to scream, but no sound comes. The void is too loud, the hunger too strong. I am consumed, lost to the darkness, a part of the endless, insatiable abyss. And as the last remnants of my humanity slip away, I hear the voice again, deep and resonant, echoing through the void. It is only the beginning. The pain fades, but the darkness does not. It lingers, heavy and suffocating, wrapping around me like a second skin. I'm no longer sure where I end and it begins. My body, my mind, everything feels fractured like pieces of something that no longer belong together. I am both everywhere and nowhere, caught in the space between worlds, between existence and oblivion. The hunger it calls, it pulses through me, a deep, gnawing ache that refuses to be ignored. I feel it in the very air, in the way the darkness shifts and twists, like a living thing, an ancient, insatiable force that moves within me, through me. The others are here, too, their presences melding with mine, a chorus of lost souls bound to the same curse. We are not alone, not anymore. I try to move, to stand, but my limbs are heavy, unresponsive, as if they are not my own. Instead, I float, drifting through the void, weightless and untethered. I cannot remember how long I've been here, or if time even exists in this place. The only thing I know is the hunger. It is all-consuming, all-powerful, and it will never let go. The voices of the others whisper in the darkness, faint echoes of what they once were. They speak in fractured fragments, their words twisted and broken, like the remnants of a forgotten dream. Some of them beg for release, others simply scream, their voices swallowed by the endless void. I do not know if they can hear me, or if they even remember who they were before they were consumed. I try to speak, but my mouth is dry, my throat cracked and empty. I am nothing more than a vessel, a conduit for the hunger. And yet, somewhere deep within me, there is still a spark of awareness, a flicker of the person I once was. But it is fading, slipping away with each passing moment. The darkness begins to shift again, and I feel the presence of something else. It is not like the hunger, not like the void that surrounds us. It is a force, a pull, like a distant call that reverberates through the very fabric of the void. I am drawn to it, compelled to move toward it, though I do not know why. It is the only thing that feels different, that feels alive. I am pulled through the darkness, my senses stretched thin, as if the very fabric of reality is tearing apart around me. I cannot see, cannot feel anything but the pull, the force that calls me forward. The hunger still gnaws at me, but this new presence, this force, feels different. It is not like the hunger, not like the void. It is something else, and I must find it. The darkness gives way to something else, something cold and alien. I feel the ground beneath me again, solid and firm, and I am no longer floating. I am standing, though my legs feel unsteady, as if they have not borne weight in eons. I look around, but there is nothing to see. The world is a blur of shapes and shadows, the air thick and heavy with an unnameable presence. And then I hear it, a voice, distant and familiar, though I cannot place it. It calls my name, soft and urgent, like a memory just out of reach. Come. I take a step, then another, the ground beneath me shifting with each movement. The shadows seem to grow, stretching and twisting, as if they are alive, as if they are watching me. I do not know where I am, but the voice, the call, is stronger now, pulling me forward, guiding me. The air grows colder, and I feel the hunger rise within me once more. It is relentless, a gnawing, aching void that refuses to be silenced. But the voice, the presence, is louder now, its pull more powerful. I push forward, though every step feels like wading through thick mud, as if the very air itself is trying to drag me back into the darkness. And then I see it, a figure standing in the distance, its outline faint and indistinct, like a shadow cast by something far too large to comprehend. The hunger flares within me, and I feel its power surge, but I cannot stop. I must reach the figure, must find the source of the voice that calls to me. I take another step, and the figure comes into sharper focus. It is tall, impossibly tall, its form shifting and rippling like smoke, like something that cannot be contained. Its eyes are the only thing that remain constant, two glowing embers, burning with a hunger that mirrors my own. It looks at me, and for a moment, I feel as if it is seeing me, truly seeing me. And then it speaks. You have come. Its voice is not like the others. It is deep, resonant, and filled with an ancient, unspoken power. The hunger stirs within me, but it is different now, quieter, as if it recognizes something in the figure before me. I do not know what it is, but I know I must listen. You are not the first, the figure continues, its voice like the rustling of leaves in a forgotten forest. But you are the last. The hunger has consumed all that it can. Now, it is time for you to choose. The darkness presses in again, the hunger rising, but the figure's presence holds it at bay. I stand there, frozen, as the weight of its words settles over me. I am the last. The hunger has consumed everything, and now it is my turn. But choose what? What is there left to choose? The figure steps forward, its movement fluid like water flowing over stone. It reaches out, its hand, if it can be called a hand, extended toward me. Fingers long and pale, like the branches of a dead tree. I feel the pull again, stronger now, as if it is offering me something. But what? What does it want from me? Choose, it repeats, its voice now a low, insistent whisper. Choose to end it, or choose to become it. The hunger stirs within me, louder now, gnawing at my insides, urging me to take its hand, to become the void, to become the endless, insatiable darkness. But the figure's eyes burn with something else, something different, and I realize I do have a choice. The decision is mine. I take a step forward, my hand trembling as I reach out toward the figure. The hunger rages inside me, but I can feel it, something else, something that is not the void, something that offers peace. And as my fingers brush against the figure's cold skin, the world begins to shift again. The hunger is no more, but the void remains.